Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome, everybody, to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Wow, today's the day. Day after the trade deadline. Lots to get to today. Of course, we're going to enter really the show and talk right away about the Erod stuff. We got to get that out of the way. Packed show for today. Lions, Tigers, of course. A little bit of college football. I saw a playoff prediction list that I want to get to later in the show, and I know Sam, a loyal Michigan man, is going to enjoy that list as well. But before we get into anything, I got to introduce the boys. We got Sam Flannel, as always, my partner in crime. In the booth, we got JB rocking the DMAC 313 shirt, which you can get on woodwardsports.com as well. And joining us, Gabby is away at training camp, and filling in, we got our guy, the GOAT, Matt Broder, good friend of the show. As always, he's going to bring the heat. Pitched for Michigan, as many don't know, and he was elite. In the booth, we got
Speaking
Lucas Klotz. He's ready to go. He's fired up. Look at him. I know he's excited because we got a very special segment in the middle of the show about Justin Fields getting some traction for MVP.
I'm excited to talk about it.
We're here.
We are here.
Justin Fields in an MVP conversation.
MVP race already.
Yeah. Just give him the award. You know, save on inflation. Just send him the award right now. Why not? But I want to start off by just saying, you know, yesterday was interesting, to say the least, for the Detroit Tigers. Michael Lorenzen, Eduardo Rodriguez, both expected to be dealt. Michael Lorenzen was dealt to the Phillies. Erod was not. And there's a lot of context that, you know, has to do with why he was not traded. And we'll get into all that and more. And specifically at 8:15, we'll get into, you know, grading Scott Harris, because that's why we have the poll right now in the chat. How would you grade Scott Harris so far? And people are already flying in now, over 50 votes. So continue to vote on that. We'll review it next segment. But Sam Flannel, without giving too much away, how are you feeling this morning as a Tigers fan?
I would say mixed emotions, because I know the first segment we're going to touch on Erod more than anything, but I will just talk about Lorenzen really quick. I like the haul that Scott Harris was able to get for Michael Lorenzen, and it's a credit that Scott Harris was able to sign Michael Lorenzen. Lorenzen was able to have the best season of his career, the best start to a season of his career as a starter, and then they were able to flip him. Scott Harris was for Hao Yu Lee. He was a A-ball player in, I believe, the Philadelphia organization. Yep. It was a high A ball. And the thing about Hao Yu Lee that I like, and I'm not going to pretend that I broke down all of his film or anything like that,
no.
But you know what I'm all about. I'm all about those analytics, and the most important thing you can do in Major League Baseball, besides be a starting pitcher, is to get on base. To quote the movie Moneyball, I love me some guys who can get on base. And this year, during
it's a great movie, Sam.
It is a great movie. In 64 games in their high A ball affiliate, he had a .372 on base percentage, which I believe would lead the team if he did it in the major leagues. But Riley Green has a high on-base percentage too. I think it's close between those two. And his lifetime minor league on-base percentage is .380. So that tells me strike zone discipline is not something that goes away when you get to the majors. It's something that you either have or you don't. I think it's something that is ingrained in you. You can obviously get better at it, but that's what I like to see. No, I didn't want to see anybody who had on-base percentages in the 320s or in the 310s or had on-base percentages that were like 30 or 40 points higher than their batting average. I want a guy who walks, because when you walk a lot, you get on base a lot. I know I'm quoting Moneyball a lot, but if you continue to get on base, what can't happen? The inning literally cannot end until there are 3 outs. So I think I'm more excited about how you lead than the average person.
Yeah, I mean, Lee, 20 years old, second baseman, 5th overall prospect in the Philly system. Again, you look at, you know, better than nothing, and we don't know what this man could be, but obviously it's exciting you got anything from Michael Lorenzen. We knew he was one of the hottest or hotter trade targets at the deadline, so Scott Harris got that one done. Obviously, we won't know what Lee possesses, what kind of skill set he possesses till a little down the line, but the more interesting story, and I'll go to Matt Broder here, because Matt Broder played high-level baseball. He played at Michigan. loves the game. But your initial reaction, we'll just start with the Michael Lorenzen stuff, and just overall, how you feeling today, a day after the trade deadline?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel today. I don't think it's as catastrophic as a lot of people are saying, but I'm not excited about what happened. And I think Tigers fans have been kind of itching for something to be excited about. I'm with Sam about Hao-Yu Lee, if I just pronounce his name right. He's totally, we talk about Dan Campbell guys being drafted or brought to the Lions. He's totally a Scott Harris guy.
Yeah.
And even to take it a little further, he's a Michael Berdar guy who's the hitting coach for the Detroit Tigers, the new one that Scott Harris brought in, also a former Wolverine. He's all about controlling the strike zone, drawing walks, having a real solid understanding of plate discipline. He wants to see that with these guys coming up the ranks. So to get a guy like Lee, just seems to fit what they're trying to do. Think of him as like a Placido Polanco type, maybe even, and he's totally not this, but a Luis Arias. Like that's the vision of a player like him coming to the majors. So on that front, I think it was a good trade, getting rid of Lorenzen for 2 months.
So, Broder, are you calling for Hao-Yu Lee to at one point flirt with 400 and win a batting title? You said
Absolutely
Luis Arias.
not.
No, I know.
Absolutely not.
We got Lions players we're already making their Hall of Fame jackets. We have Tigers players that are setting league records. I mean, it's a great time to be in Detroit, isn't it?
It is a great time.
But more on the Erod stuff, and I want to kind of save most of the juice for next segment because we got a lot to get into. I know Sam I saw him tweet last night about it, so he's got a lot to say. But for Erod, is it fair to say that there's plenty of blame to go around? Like I know when people first saw the report by Jeff Passan. Do you have the tweets by Jeff? Just speaking on the Erod stuff. Here's the tweet itself, and I'm gonna try and read this. It's a little far away, but the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Detroit Tigers had a trade in place for left-handed starter Eduardo Rodriguez. But Rodriguez invoked his 10-team no-trade clause that included the Dodgers, and the deal is now dead. Sources tell the ESPN. Now, and the reason why I say there's a lot of blame to go around, because you take this thing all the way back to Avila. Like, you take this thing back to when Eduardo was signed and what that contract looked like, because you first see it initially, and you mentioned it before the show, Broder, an opt-out after 1 year. You talk a 10-team no-trade clause.
That's insane.
A 10-team no-trade clause?
I've never heard of that. Again, I know absolutely nothing about the MLB, but I just know having a 10-team trade clause in any sport is absolutely ridiculous.
That's a power of leverage, Broder. Like, that's something you give guys that, like for example, like a Verlander gets a no-trade clause. Like, Eduardo is as hot as he's been. A 10-team no-trade clause that features the Los Angeles Dodgers. Like, what? What are we doing? Now, there's that angle of it, but there's also the other angle of, people want to blame Scott Harris, which, understandably so. He's the new general manager. The lights are on him. And it doesn't take away from anything he's already done, because, trust me, we'll go into that next segment. But then there's this angle that, Erod, it's people assume that Scott Harris doesn't look at any of these contract details and see that, Erod potentially doesn't want to go to the Los Angeles Dodgers, but that doesn't mean any dialogue was discussed between Scott and Eduardo Rodriguez. Maybe, hey, this is what's going on. The Dodgers are a more likely destination, and we don't know if Erod was fine with it until last minute. We don't know if there was potentially, and I saw this tweet featured in there as well, a spouse or something that, maybe said, hey, we're not going over there. We want to stay on the East Coast. It was reported that Erod wants to be close to family. Like, there's so many different angles to this, but it's unfortunate. And whoever you want to blame, I just want to say, I think everyone can agree, it sucks. It's probably the big overall statement. No matter who you're blaming, it sucks.
Yeah.
Because now Erod, most likely, whether he opts in or not, most likely, I don't think he will. You essentially lose Erod, one of the hottest, at least, targets at the trade deadline for essentially nothing.
Yeah, kind of the only way you get out of this unscathed is if Erod not only pitches well for the next 2 months, but also opts back in when he could opt out and get a bigger bag. It's hard to see something like that happening, but you're right. You wonder about all the different details of, like, how this happened. Why don't you want to pitch for the Dodgers? Like, why don't you want to go to LA? We don't know. It could be a marital problem, which was part of the reason he had those he disappeared last year when Avila was the manager. We just don't know. I think the worst part about this is there was nothing other than the Lorenzen trade. We didn't get anything else. There were no other trades made. So it just amplifies this on Scott Harris.
I mean, before I think I'm going to, I would say, question Scott Harris in the next segment heavily. I will say this about him and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Obviously, Eduardo Rodriguez, the Dodgers were one of the teams that were on his 10-team no-trade clause, which is absurd. Why the hell would Eduardo Rodriguez ever get something like that? But that is beside the point. But the Dodgers were a team that really actually needed Eduardo Rodriguez more than maybe you think, because this isn't the Dodgers pitching staff of old. Noah Syndergaard was an absolute disaster. Julio Arias is having a down year. Tony Gonsolin is having a down year. Walker Buehler hasn't pitched the whole season, and Dustin May is a guy who's pitching well, but he's had some injury concerns. It's really kind of Clayton Kershaw and a lot of questions, I would say. So the Dodgers really needed somebody like him. So the Dodgers were the type of team that I think could give more of a haul than Eduardo Rodriguez was worth. So maybe it was a risk that was worth taking, but at the end of the day, Eduardo Rodriguez is still here, and he's probably going to leave for nothing. So I don't know how much I think I'm going to take that at least into account before I light into him a little bit in the next segment.
Well, I think it's partially inexperience, right? And again, for a guy like Scott Harris, which, it's your first trade deadline, and you expect him, at least from his perspective, hey, I'm going to wait till, not last minute, but the day of, because a team will be desperate enough to overpay. Like the Dodgers, they were going after Verlander, didn't work out. Verlander goes to Houston, and now they pivot to Eduardo Rodriguez. So, it was the right intention by Scott Harris, but maybe he waited too late. Maybe this should have been a deal that was in place a couple days prior. But then again, maybe you wouldn't have gotten as a desperate deal as you would have if you waited. So there's that too. So there's a lot of angles to come at this, and we'll get into all of that and more next segment. We're going to talk more about Scott Harris and just overall the trade deadline. How happy are you with Scott Harris so far during his tenure with the Detroit Tigers? But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends at Outdoor Equipment Company, and then we'll get into the Scott Harris stuff. But before that, your childhood may be over, but playtime is certainly not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment, sales, service, and parts, carrying top brands such as Bad Boy, LS Tractor, Still, and much more. Servicing the Great Lakes regions with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit us at OutdoorEquipCo.com. Outdoor Equipco, your power equipment playground.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, drop a like on the stream. Support the boys. We'll try to get to over 50 likes by the end of this segment, but if you can't watch live, it's all good. You can re-listen to the podcast, any platform you listen to podcasts on. If that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review for the Morning Woodward Show. Well, we're going to continue the discussion about Scott Harris, the Detroit Tigers, the trade deadline, E-Rod in Detroit again. He's actually on the mound today, which I never thought I'd be saying that. He's on the mound today, boys and girls. But just to kind of go back to the Scott Harris stuff, it's clear, and everybody would agree, that, Al Avila put this thing and made this thing a forest fire, and all Scott Harris has is a spray bottle to put out a forest fire. So he's fighting an uphill battle. That's understandable. But at the same time, you can't deny that, I personally think that the inexperience for Scott Harris was shown yesterday, Sam Flannel. Even though I don't think it's 100% his fault, there's blame to go around. But Scott Harris, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, Sam.
I will say this, and I was perusing Twitter quite a bit after the Eduardo Rodriguez news broke that he had invoked his no trade clause and the deal to the Dodgers was not able to get done. And I saw, here's the thing about Detroit, I think, right now, and their GMs. Detroit sports fans get really, really sensitive if you say maybe one critical thing. I have a PSA to all Detroit sports fans right now, especially ones who are caping up for Scott Harris too much. Nobody wants Scott Harris fired. Nobody is calling for his job. It's okay to actually question something.
Yes, it is.
And I will say this, as I said on shows before, I like a lot of what Scott Harris has done. I like the fact that Michael Lorenzen turned out to be a damn good signing, that he was able to flip for a minor league player who has a 380 on base percentage in the minor leagues. I like that a lot. I like that more than most. I like what he did signing Matt Vierling, getting him in a trade for Gregory Soto along with Nick Maton. I like that a lot. Matt Vierling has been one of the Tigers' best position players, and he has had the best year of his career by far. I really, really like him getting Tyler Holton, a guy who has a 1.99 ERA as a relief pitcher, and I like the fact that this season the Tigers are 11th in the American League in walks, where in last season they were last, and I think that's a philosophical thing, and you know me, the more a team walks, the more that they win, the better that they will be, and that will play out because when you walk, you get on base. That being said, I gave some reasons in the last segment, but there is no excuse whatsoever for Scott Harris not being able to get a deal done for Eduardo Rodriguez. At that point, I tend to think that there were other teams that were maybe in the running in the Eduardo Rodriguez sweepstakes, because the reality is Eduardo Rodriguez is having the best season of his career. He is a starting pitcher who currently has an ERA under 3, and there are contending teams everywhere that need a starting pitcher like that. But also for the people out there who say, oh, but maybe we could keep him and he could re-sign. Here's the thing about Eduardo Rodriguez. Nothing in his career ever indicates that he is going to be this ever again. This is peak Eduardo Rodriguez trade value. What his career low in ERA is for a season? 381. That's pretty damn mid. He has had 4 seasons in which he has had ERAs over 4, and his lifetime ERA is 4.05. This season is more of an anomaly than most, and I mean, I could foresee a scenario where he doesn't pitch well to end the year, or he pitches well to end the year, so well that he opts out and the Tigers lose him for nothing. And you know what Eduardo Rodriguez also has done more consistently than just about anything in Detroit? Be unavailable. So the fact that they were even able to get to a point where they had what I would think would be a good deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Scott Harris didn't have the foresight to maybe say, Eduardo Rodriguez might reject this. It's crazy to be, because with Detroit, remember what happened in 2022? Eduardo Rodriguez literally went AWOL for 3 months. I had never seen anything like that before. Absence without leave. That is literally what Eduardo Rodriguez did. I know there's some technical terms for it, but and even that year he had an ERA over 4. And even this season, the best year of his career, he has had injury issues. He missed about a month and a week with injury, and to be fair, too, he was pitching very, very well, and lately he's kind of slipping a little bit, which leads me to think that he is going to regress to the mean. You will never have a better opportunity to trade someone like Eduardo Rodriguez, who has been historically pretty mid, is finally having a year where he's pitching like an ace, and the Tigers desperately needed to get rid of him, because even if he does play well, even if he pitches like a Cy Young candidate the rest of the season, the games are meaningless. It doesn't matter. The Tigers are done. They are 7.5 out of first place. They are more than 10 games under 500. They're done. They're over. They're sellers. They were able to sell off Michael Lorenzen. Scotty Harris needed to get something done for Eduardo Rodriguez, and for now, it's going to be a black mark. No matter how many ways you guys can spin it, no matter how many excuses you guys can make, Scott Harris needed to get this done, and he didn't do it. I'm not saying I'm done with him. I'm not saying get him out of town. He's obviously shown some things even early on that lead me to believe that he will turn this around eventually, but this was a golden ticket. He had a golden ticket, and he decided not to go to the chocolate factory, basically. He didn't decide decide that, but he didn't have the foresight to think, hey, maybe Eduardo Rodriguez doesn't want to play for the Dodgers, and for some ungodly reason, Eduardo Rodriguez has the right to reject that.
Yes, but also, and trust me, Sam, I think there's definitely a little bit of a stain on Scott Harris so far just for that. But that's you assuming that there was no dialogue between Scott Harris and Erod on a potential destination. Like, if you watch some of the press conference after the trade deadline and Scott Harris talked to the media, it sounded like he didn't want to give, or throw Erod under the bus. That's at least the message I got, because his response to why trade Erod to a destination you knew he wasn't going to go to, and his response was kind of choppy, but it was essentially like, hey, we talked before, and he pretty much said, I'll leave it at that. Like, so I don't know the dialogue. I get what you're saying, but you're assuming that there wasn't a confirmation that Erod would be okay going to the Dodgers, but maybe a last-minute change. It's not like, I don't think at least, Scott, and we'll find out more details sooner than later, that, Scott Harris just said, hey, you're going to the Dodgers without, with Erod saying, dude, I never wanted to go to the Dodgers, because there's no way Scott Harris didn't know that in his contract, the 10-team no-trade clause featured the Dodgers.
That's all well and good, but Jeff Iafrate, did the deal get done or did it not get done? It did not get done
based
because
on that
of
premise,
Rodriguez.
Based on that premise, it's disappointing, but you're assuming that Scott is just like, hey, we're just going to trade you to the Dodgers, knowing that you don't want to go to the Dodgers. I don't think that doesn't tell the whole story.
No, I
think there was dialogue that, Erod maybe was okay at first, maybe he changed his mind. But regardless, the fact that he didn't deal Erod is not good.
No,
I agree with that.
It's not good. And Eduardo Rodriguez, you can't always change someone's mind. If a team is on their 10-day no trade clause list, then you have to respect that. You have to know that it's a risk to want to trade him to a team like Los Angeles. And I said it before, Los Angeles really needs a guy like Eduardo Rodriguez. Maybe the haul that they would have gotten was worth the risk of not trading Eduardo Rodriguez, but now we're getting the downside of the risk. I don't see any way in which Eduardo Rodriguez helps this team, especially this year or even next year, because if I had to make a guess, he's going to either regress or pitch well the rest of the year, and regardless, he is going to opt out, and the Tigers are going to lose him for nothing. He's on the hook for, if he opts in, 3 years, $49 million. And if you're a starting pitcher who has even showed flashes of being an ace, which Eduardo Rodriguez did for parts of this year, you're going to get more than that, and some team is going to overpay.
Now, and you could go back, Broder, and look at what Scott Harris has done. You look at him originally signing Lorenzen and then flipping him for a good prospect. You go back, he drafted Max Clark this year, which we all like and hope it'll pan out for him. McKinstry he signed as well. Like, Scott Harris has made some good moves, and now he trades Lorenzen but fails to trade Erod for whatever reason. The man had a 50% completion percentage yesterday on the trade deadline, Matt Broder. But your initial reaction to what Sam said?
The hard part, and I agree with just about everything Sam said. This was the time where Erod, his trade value was the highest it will ever be. You think at the position the Tigers are in, you gotta maximize that. You gotta utilize the fact that you can get something back from him. The fact that we were in discussions, I think Baltimore and the Dodgers were probably the teams rumored to be in discussions most with Scott Harris. They've got some of the top catching prospects behind. I think both their starting catchers are all-stars. Will Smith with the Dodgers and Adley Rutschman with the Orioles. So we had a great opportunity to get a young catcher to get in the minor league system. It's tough. What we didn't learn is what does he view, like, where is this team right now? How far away does he feel they are from building a stable contender? He didn't use Erod to go build up the minor league system to get several minor league players. I don't mind keeping Erod if he made other moves to kind of signal that we're maybe not selling or buying, but we do have a chance to compete this year. Maybe it's getting another a back-end reliever in some trade where if you're going to keep Lang, Foley, and get a new reliever, you've got, every couple of days you're playing 6 innings. You can roll out those 3 and almost shorten the game. The fact that they didn't do anything at the major league level or to build up the minor league system is confusing. It's like, what is he trying to do?
Yeah, and that's, I guess, because again, like Sam mentioned earlier, you can still give criticism but still be hopeful for the future. Like, for me, and I think Sam would agree, and he already mentioned it already, and people would assume Sam hates Scott Harris, but it's not the case.
Yeah.
Like, no. Sam, we all like Scott Harris. We all have appreciated what he's done, again, with the force fire that Al Avila set. and all the man has is a spray bottle. He can't put out the entire forest fire in half a season or 70% of a season. So there's that, but it also is the other part of it where it's like, hey, man, like, you had to get Erod out of here. You had to find a trade partner.
Yeah.
I know it was the Dodgers. I know you had a deal in place. And I know you could go back and look at the contract and Erod's contract and blame Al Avila, because it always seems like Al Avila's still haunting us. Like, he's still like the monster under our bed. He's still coming out when you don't expect him to. Like this. Oh, Al Avila, the contract that Erod signed. It always goes back to Al Avila. But regardless, this is going to be one of those things that, hey, you just say, you know what, Scott Harris, your first trade deadline. Michael Lorenzen, great. Erod, that wasn't good. It wasn't impressive, and we'll see. I think Erod, regardless, hopefully at least, he opts out. But it sucks you didn't get anything for him. Like that's not a good look for Scott Harris. But regardless, I think we can all say the Tigers are still on the right track. It's just unfortunate they didn't get anything back for Erod.
They're 100% on the right
It's an L.
Yeah, I mean,
really is.
I think it's an L at least on the surface, at least for now. And actually, Brandon Katz says something that is interesting. Teams aren't going to offer big money to Rodriguez. He's been inconsistent for a while, and he's 30. You know what? I wouldn't offer Eduardo Rodriguez a big-time contract because he's been inconsistent his whole career. As I said, before this year, his career low in ERA is 381, or his career high. You know what I mean. He's never been an ace. He's never been a great pitcher. He's been very good at times, but he's had a lot of mid in his career. And that kind of leads me to the question that I'm kind of asking myself and thinking out loud. Do we want Eduardo Rodriguez to pitch well the rest of the year, or do we want him to pitch poorly?
Oh, no, I want him to be I want him to be excellent. Because that would guarantee that there's an offer out there for him. Because if he pitches bad, he could just opt back into the contract, which isn't ideal.
I mean, but at the same time, I mean, Eduardo Rodriguez for 3 years, $49 million. I don't necessarily hate that if he's like their third or fourth starter. If guys like Manning and Skubal keep panning out like they have been, at least to some extent, and Casey Mize comes back healthy, or the like. Because I don't know if he is. Here's the thing about what Brandon Katz said. I agree with it in principle. I agree that he's been mid for a lot of his career, but what if he actually pitches excellent? What if he finishes this season with an ERA under 3? Somebody is going to want to offer him a contract, because if you have an ERA under 3 for a whole season as a starter, you're an ace. Even, at least for one season. I'm not saying he is an ace, or nothing in his career has indicated that he is an ace, but if he does it for 1 year, somebody is going to overpay for him, and in that regard, you lose Eduardo Rodriguez for nothing. The safest bet was to just get a good trade for him, and they couldn't get it done. And Scott Harris, at least for now, there's a little bit of, as I like to say, cause for pause.
And with the poll right now, WoodwardSports.com, do you still believe in Scott Harris? 72% say yes, 29% say no. There's always going to be a percentage of people that don't believe in whoever it is. It's the same thing for Steve. It's the same thing. Steve, obviously a little different because he's proven, but still, Troy Weaver is a good example. There's still guys. Brad Holmes is the only one that I feel like has like a 99% approval rate, which, you know what, it is what it is. But Scott Harris, I don't think anybody, at least from the people in this room, we've lost faith in what Scott's doing. But you can't argue, like, this is a tough pill to swallow. Like, it is. And to Sam's point, would you rather him play excellent or play like complete trash and opt into a fair contract? I think there's two ways to look at that. We shall see it play out. But until then, we're going to get into some Lions, a little bit of Justin Fields next segment, because I've been seeing this thing flying around, and we have to address it. Justin Fields, MVP conversation.
MVP potential. Apparently.
Yeah, that's a crime. That's a crime right there. But until then, I got to tell you about our friends over at Guardian Alarm, because guys, customized solutions from real experts. I mean, come on, Guardian Alarm has that. They have 24/7 professional monitoring. They have technology backed by people. All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT today. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. Let them know your friends at Woodward Sports sent you, and they'll take care of you.
Network. You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
How would you like to win a $100K Vegas getaway? Take your closest friends and live it up in the city that never sleeps. It's the Cintron Energy. Drink it and live it. Purchase a 24-pack today and you're entered to win the $100K Vegas getaway at drinkcintron.com/Vegas and buy Cintron at your local Meijer. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with great taste and the choice of people who desire to look good, feel good, and be the best versions of themselves. drinkcintron.com/Vegas. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Matt Broder, Lucas Klotz. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Almost at 46,000 subscribers. We're growing, and it's all thanks to every single one of you. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget, if you're on the website, check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. Merchandise like what JB's wearing, the DMAC 313 shirt.
JB,
that's sweet,
smooth.
by the way. And JB, are you going on Saturday? You going out to LCA?
Oh, you mean Ford Field?
Ford Field.
SummerSlam? Yes, I will be out there. It should be a fun night, but yeah, I will be out there.
Just to get to some of these comments, too, people are already chiming in. Brandon Katz says Jeff has no clue what the offers were for Rodriguez. Harris obviously would have traded him if he got better offers from different teams. I don't know how those two things are correlated, but you know what? Great. I'll tell you what, we'll get to some of these news with the Lions. Detroit Lions announced roster moves, by the way. Signed tight ends, Darrell Daniels and Daniel Helm. This is after the Shane Zylstra news of him, unfortunately, pretty much blowing his knee out. And it was due to an illegal hit. Not an illegal hit, but a hit that Dan wasn't very happy with, because in training camp right now, it's, yeah, you want to get physical, but you're not trying to kill your teammates. And as you can see, placed cornerback Emmanuel Mosley on the active/PUP list. Waived tight end Derek Deese Jr. San Diego State alum. Derek Deese Jr.
That's the best sound cut from Hard Knocks last year when Campbell's walking out there. He's like, Deese.
Yeah, well,
Deese.
Deese nuts. Yeah, but there you go. That's the recent news with the Lions. But I want to get to this Justin Fields stuff because, man, he is getting traction right now. And he's getting the Jalen Hurts treatment last season where, they both had, there it is right there. But they both, decent teams. I mean, it was different for Jalen because he was on, arguably the most stacked team in football. But two guys that you expect to take a jump. And they actually had similar stats, both of them, in year two. I'm not saying he's going to be Jalen Hurts, but this is where people are coming from. And the odds for Justin Fields to win MVP are really good. They're in the thousands. So for people that are betting, hey, you drop some money on Justin Fields, I understand it. But I'll read this one. Max Mayer, Michael Mayer's brother. No, I'm just kidding.
He's probably mid too, then.
Yeah, he's probably. Max Mayer says Fields is currently the sportsbook most bet on player to win MVP. He has more MVP bets than Mahomes, Allen, and Herbert combined. But I think that is because of the odds.
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah, because if you're picking who's going to win MVP, no one's picking him over Mahomes and all those guys.
I'm looking up the odds right now.
Yeah, but hey, the odds are in Justin Fields' favor. Sam Flannel, your reaction?
You know what? I obviously don't think that he's going to win it, but I'll tell you what, Justin Fields absolutely can be a dark horse for this team. To be an MVP, a dark horse. And when I mention dark horse, just take it as literally dark horse. His odds are probably a hell of a lot lower than Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow of the like. Here's the thing about Justin Fields, which I like, and nobody can deny, even if you guys try, because there's a lot of people even here and a lot of people in the chat that are just going to say, Justin Fields sucks, he's awful, he's the reason the Bears were so bad. Wrong. Justin Fields obviously had some pitfalls last year. I've mentioned it before. He only completed 20 passes in a game once. That's not good enough. He only completed 15 passes in a game 5 times out of 15 starts. That absolutely is not good enough as well. But you know what Justin Fields also did? He led all quarterbacks in rushing yards. He had one of the most impressive rushing seasons by a quarterback ever. I would say second to Lamar Jackson's 2019, and by the numbers, they bear out like that. And also, Justin Fields had a 3-week stretch, and I'm pulling it up right now, where he led his team to 29, 32, 30 points, and then I'll go to 4 weeks, 24, and the Bears were 0-4 of those games because they had a defense that was last in scoring. Dead ass last, especially when they got rid of Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith. They were absolutely last. And I'll tell you what about the Chicago Bears. Do we think that they made quite a few improvements? I would say on the offensive line, signing Nate Davis, drafting a first-round tackle. I think that's an improvement. I think that will help. Does it help a quarterback to get a guy like DJ Moore? I would say absolutely yes. He's going to be the number one wide receiver. He is probably going to be Justin Fields' best target. Did they help out their defense? I would say absolutely. Getting a guy like Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, and I think Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson are damn good safeties. And DeMarcus Walker was an underrated signing as a defensive end. He had 7 sacks last season. They needed a guy who can at least do something rushing the quarterback. So, to me, Justin Fields, it's not outside the realm of possibility for him to have a season in which he does break out, in which he finally shows himself as a passer. Do we think that he can be dynamic as a runner again? I say yes. I don't think he gets 1,100 yards, but still, if he's dynamic as a runner and gets between like 700 and 1,000 and throws for 20 to 25 touchdown passes, and the team is improved by like 5 games or something, I think Justin Fields is a guy you could look at as a breakout star in this league. And for the record, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, he's being compared to having a Jalen Hurts type resurgence. Justin Fields is a naturally better thrower of the football than Jalen Hurts.
Facts.
He was a much better thrower of the football in college. And for the record, Justin Fields, he hasn't shown enough as a passer his first couple of years. I give you that. And one of the reasons I also think Justin Fields is going to show out is because he has no choice. The excuses are over. You can look back at his first 2 seasons and say he didn't have much of an offensive line in terms of pass blocking. He didn't have a lot of weapons. But this year, it's the year that he has to show out. And I think Justin Fields is finally going to put the world on notice as to what he can do. I think his passing numbers will go up. I think the Bears defense won't be last again, so that will lead to more wins in games that the Bears score 30 points, but Justin Fields still gets all the blame for it. I think that will be a thing of the past. The Bears will win 8 games, and Justin Fields will throw at least 25 touchdown passes and rush for at least 800 yards and 7 touchdowns. Though that's my stat prediction for Justin Fields because he now has the weapons and a better O-line.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't give a damn what he has.
Oh, hater.
And I'll tell you. Let me just say this. Hold on. And I'm not trying to, because I'll keep repeating this. I do like Justin Fields. I do. I watched him at Ohio State. You watch him.
Stroud there.
Yeah, but which you hate C.J. Stroud. But I think Justin Fields will succeed. Now, define succeed. There's a lot of different definitions of that. I think he can be an NFL starting quarterback. Is that fair? Now, MVP? Okay, I'll say this. The dynamic ability, I get why it's exciting, right? The guy running for over 1,000, you see the arm and what it could be. Not what it is now, what it could be when he gets more talent and hopefully gets a better head coach or a better offensive coordinator.
Hey.
But regardless, I get that. But we're not living in 2025. This is right now. And all I've seen from Justin Fields right now is throw for over 200 yards in 2 games. So we little more development that needs to happen. But I assume that Ryan Poles, is that his name, I believe? Poles, the GM for the Bears, at least from his perspective, he sees, okay, Fields last season in his second year, he took a jump. He threw 17 passing touchdowns, 11 picks. Cool. Jalen Hurts in his second year, 16 touchdown passes, 9 picks. You expect, Justin Fields to take that third-year jump, now getting DJ Moore. Not that DJ Moore is A.J. Brown, but they got A.J. Brown for Jalen Hurts. It worked out for him. But here's the other thing. Jalen Hurts also had an offensive line. Jalen Hurts also had a defensive line. He also had a good defense. He also had a head coach that I respect. So there's a lot of other things that go into it. I don't know if Fields, you can say, hey, I like Fields. I think he'll be fine in the NFL. He'll be entertaining to watch. And as a Lions fan, you probably have fear if he ever hits his prime and becomes elite. There's fear there. But let's be real here. The Bears have enough to win? No, they don't. And now, if you want to say Justin Fields will be responsible or take most of the credit for the Bears' success, great. But to win MVP, you ain't winning MVP winning 8 games. I'll tell you that. So how the hell is he winning MVP?
I mean, it's facts. What you said is facts. I see the Bears winning 7-8 games, but I agree with Flannel where if Justin Fields, if he goes out there and individually, I think he can have an MVP-like season, but the team success won't add up to it just because they're so far behind the 8 ball compared to these other teams with MVP candidates. But there is going to be a day where Justin Fields is an MVP candidate. There could very easily be a day where Justin Fields wins it just because how dynamic he is, but it is not going to be this year. I think this is still a little early, although I am all in on Justin Fields being a superstar quarterback in the NFL one day. Will it be this year? No. To your point, I think they need to add a defensive line. I think, honestly, their defense, once they add the defensive line, it's not in a terrible position. But
Yeah, I agree with
line is
that.
the most important thing on the defensive side of the ball. Once they address that, they need maybe another receiver. But even now, like, they have Darnell Mooney, DJ Moore, and I think they'll get rid of Claypool. If they don't, he's another guy that's easily replaceable. This offense is going to be fine. I just think it takes a couple years. Not even a couple years, probably like a season, another lineman, and they'll be fine, but just not yet.
Well, the Bears did address their defensive line in the draft with a couple of, I think, a second and a third round. I understand that. I understand they're not guys that are going to contribute right away, but what if they become the Bears' Broderick Martin? I know we're all high on what Broderick Martin can be. I'm not saying that they're the same type of players. I'm just saying that they did take some steps to address it, although I do think their front four is going to be one of the worst in the league, at least this year. And these are the type of comments that just drive me absolutely insane. This is from Rack, actually, a guy that I've met a couple of times. He's a very, very nice guy, but I can't stand for this slander. So Fields is going to double his career passing touchdowns this year. Yeah, I don't think so. People act like his touchdown to interception ratio was like 9 and 13. Justin Fields had 17 touchdown passes and 11 interceptions. I called for him to have 25, and he only played in 15 games. It's an 8 touchdown pass jump, and they added DJ Moore.
DJ Moore alone, because Darnell Mooney was hurt for most of the season last year. He's probably going to be healthier than he was. DJ Moore is going to get 5-6 touchdowns. Darnell Mooney's going to get probably 2-3 more than he did last year, and I'm sure Cole Kmet won't start the first 6 weeks of the season without catching a pass. So I think there will definitely be a statistical jump. I think it's just going to be organic growth. Like, Justin Fields is going to be very good one day. He's more talented than Jalen Hurts. That doesn't mean he's better, but he's more talented than Jalen Hurts. He's more talented than Dak Prescott. He's more talented than Jared Goff. You go around the NFC just as a strictly talent-wise where you're projecting him. He's probably top of the NFC as far as what these guys can turn into. So I don't think it's idiotic, but it's premature.
Yeah, no, it is definitely premature. And with Fields, and if you want to bring up the interceptions, and say, well, the talent wasn't all there. The wide receiver core wasn't healthy. Claypool got dealt at the deadline, and it was just an awkward fit, whatever the case may be. You know what I look at, which is important? Fumbles. And you can't blame anybody for fumbles. That's your fault. And he had double-digit fumbles.
Here's the thing, though.
You want to say all those fumbles are on someone else?
No.
Okay.
I'm not saying all of these, but when you have a bad O-line,
I wouldn't make that argument.
You get a bad O-line, you get hit from behind. That's going to be an easy fumble. Your offensive line should have blocked.
Hold on to the football.
When you're running as much as Justin Fields is, which was pretty much all the time for them to get any type of yards last year, you're going to have a lot more carries than the quarterbacks out there. He was probably, not even probably. He was the most mobile quarterback. So, yeah, he's going to have more fumbles. Again, is that a good thing? No. But that's another one of those things that with the situation around him, he's not going to run as much. He's not going to have to make those tight window throws. He still is, but not as frequently because he has better weapons. Like, the turnover numbers are going to shrink.
Yeah, but the fumble thing, there's running backs in the NFL that get the ball 20 times a game that don't fumble that many times in a season.
But it's a running back. Like, they've been doing that their whole life. The quarterback.
You don't think a running back gets hit from behind?
When you're sitting in the pocket, you have the ball up here with 2 hands lightly on it. When you're a running back, you're carrying it up here, and you're like, nobody is grabbing this fucking ball. Especially oh my God, my bicep just cramped. But the ones that we can think about, like the James Houston one in Detroit. Like, man's running for his life out there. James Houston just comes from behind and
dude, Lucas.
Like, that's something that is Justin Fields' fault, but that's something he'll learn from. And be
Lucas,
okay.
I trust me. This and I have to watch here, and I'm going to get Broder and JB on this because I think Fields will still pan out. But, man, you're really dying on Justin Fields' hill right now. The fumbles aren't his fault.
But if we're just going to say...
He's got over 20 turnovers last season.
Again, that's his thing that he's going to have to correct is the turnovers. But a lot of these turnovers are not just Justin Fields going...
Okay. Let's just say...
It's his left tackle getting blown up, and then Justin Fields is trying to make a throw to Darnell Mooney, who's not even open.
But
let's just
say this, okay? Over 20 turnovers. Let's subtract 4. He still has... what do you...
It'll be less than that. Or, he'll have less turnovers than that.
Okay, I hope so. Because if you're going to win MVP, you can't have over 20 turnovers.
We're talking about Dak here.
Yeah, well, Dak's another one. Dak's another conversation.
My bad, Rain.
Lucas, and trust me, I get why people should be and are excited about Justin Fields. I don't want to make this a complete slander segment because the only problem I have is crowning him this early. That's my problem, right? Fields hasn't shown anything to be crowned. He ran for over 1,000 yards. Great. Awesome. It's impressive. He's dynamic. But damn. Over 20 turnovers, dude, that's probably a bigger stain on what Fields is doing so far. But hey, to Lucas, none of those are his fault.
That's not what I said. That's not at all what I said.
Okay, for the record, Jeff, and I know that you're a very, very smart man and everything, but Justin Fields didn't have 20 turnovers last year. You act like he lost every single fumble that he had. And to Lucas's point,
How many fumbles did he have?
He had quite a few, but he only lost 2. He had a lot of fumbles.
Ooh.
He had a shit ton of fumbles, and that is fair. But to Lucas's point, it's so different when you're a quarterback taking a blindside hit versus when you're a running back knowing that you're going to get pounded on every play, having two hands on the ball.
Sam?
This is just this. I just feel like this is kind of like, okay, if you're sitting there, Jeff, walking down the street, car's coming at you, going across the crosswalk.
Okay.
You see the car coming. You gonna get out of the way so you don't get hit? Yes or no? Yeah, you're gonna move. If you don't see the car coming, you're gonna get hit. And when if you're just sitting there and you got some stuff in your hand, let's say you got a basket
Lucas,
of fruit.
that analogy doesn't
because
work.
It's a car. Every NFL tackle is equivalent to
trust
a
me.
car accident.
I get
you're standing there like this.
Lucas, I get what you're trying to do, but let me. I get what you're trying to do, but you're assuming that Fields doesn't know he's a quarterback. He's out there just like, oh, look at the sky.
But you're assuming that Fields just has every opportunity to create plays when they're there like every other quarterback. It's not. He has less time. He has less places to throw the ball, and the defense is going to have more of an impact than any other quarterback in the league, probably considering his offensive line. He's a young quarterback that still needs to develop his arm, so he's probably like, do I throw this? I can't throw this? Like, there's a lot of learning curves he's going to have to go through. Jalen Hurts would have looked exactly like this if he wasn't in Philly.
But that, again, we're playing the what-if game. We don't know. Like, it's not, you're right, it's not the same talent level, but you're assuming, well, Jalen Hurts would struggle in Chicago. Like, I don't know if that.
Any quarterback would, pretty much.
Yeah, but here's the thing. With the whole car analogy, you're assuming I'm walking down the street not knowing a car's coming. If I see it, I'm going to get out of the way. Imagine crossing a street and you know exactly the cars that are coming. You know the cars are coming. That's different. That's different. If I walk across the street and know a car's coming and get hit, I'm a dumbass. Like, that's how that works.
But the thing is,
you're assuming Fields is out there like, hey man, it's a great day. Oh, Houston! Like, no,
dude. When
Houston's job,
when you have Charles Leno as your left tackle,
Houston's job is to get. He knows Houston's coming. I don't know. It is what it is. Hey, by the way. I love these guys.
Brady
I can't wait.
The tuck fumble. I think he was just like, oh, brother wasn't expecting that. You can't just blame that. It's like, no, you could. If you're gonna blame Fields, you gotta blame the offensive line too for them not doing their jobs before Fields didn't do his job. If one man does his job, he's not fumbling the ball.
And how did that Super Bowl end against the Philadelphia Eagles? A sack fumble of Tom Brady. Which was obvious, but you would never blame Tom Brady for that. No chance in hell.
Well,
it was his blockers.
If Tom has over double-digit fumbles in a season, but only loses 2, and Sam's like, well, he only lost 2. The fact is, he had the ball was for grabs over how many times exactly? I don't know the exact number, but it was in the double digits. It was a lot. So that's my point. Although they didn't recover the football, he still there was almost a chance for a turnover. That's all I'm saying. If you want to bring up there was 2 turnovers, the guy fumbles, he throws interceptions. He needs to work on that stuff, and then we could talk about MVP conversation. And the Bears got to get way better. They don't have enough talent. So we agree there. We're not as bad as Booner. Booner thinks he's going to flame out. I don't think that, but man, he's got some work to do. He does, no doubt about it. Maybe DJ Moore will change that. We'll go to break. When we get back, I do want to bring up this PFF roster ranking because they did this breakdown on PFF. They ranked where the Lions are as a roster, and they went through the strength, the weaknesses, and I want to get everybody's opinion. Do you agree or disagree with PFF? Because most of the time you do disagree with PFF. Can't wait to have fun with this one. But when we get back, we'll get into that. But before we do that, I got to hear about our friends from Big Boy.
Oh, I got you for sure, because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes or the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with a refreshing summer splash salad. But don't leave Big Boy without getting yourself some dessert, because they've got the very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep-fried vanilla Oreos, and of course, the strawberry hot fudge cakes, and so much more at your local Big Boy.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. Love Woodward Sports? Love love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward sports merch today.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Again, just got done talking a little bit about Justin Fields being in the MVP conversation this year, which, he will not be. But if you want to put some money down on it, I can't hate on you. The odds are probably great, so throw a couple dollars, but you have to understand when you put that money on Justin Fields that you're essentially just rolling down your window, just letting it fly out the window. So just be careful with that. But regardless, we got Lions to get to.
It is plus 2,000, by the way.
Yeah, you're just swinging, man.
$100 gets you $2,000.
Which I'm cool if you want to throw a little change on it, but to sit
Russ
here,
is plus 4,000.
Who?
Russell Wilson.
Oh,
Would you be more confident betting on Justin Fields winning an MVP at plus 2,000 or Russell Wilson at plus 4,000?
At least Russell's proven he can be in MVP conversations, but after last year, man, it's rough.
Deshaun Watson plus 2,500.
Now Deshaun, I don't mind either. I think there's some interesting ones. Russ will be a better bet, yes. Can't believe I'm saying that, but Russ had one bad season. I think he'll bounce back with Sean Payton. But here's the list now. PFF came out with their roster ranking. They do this early 2023 NFL roster rankings for all 32 teams, strength, weaknesses, rookies to watch, and more. And I'll just get to the Lions because I don't want to go through this entire list. This is by Dalton Wasserman and Jim Wyman, and they broke down all the rosters. I'll tell you where the Lions come in at. That's probably the more interesting storyline. So the Lions come in right behind the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's what made me mad about this whole list.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers thing does frustrate me because, again, as a roster, I mean, you want to go position by position. TJ Watt, no question, the best player, but it is what it is. These early rankings, I just don't even look into because it's all projections, so it's ridiculous. Detroit Lions coming at 13, though, right behind the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there you have it. Biggest strength in 2023. They rate as the pass rush, which, I mean, where are you getting your information from, PFF? I don't know if you're basing it off PFF grades, but this ain't it. Biggest strength, I don't think, is the pass rush. I can name like 2-3 strengths before the pass rush. I can name the offensive line. I can name the secondary. I can name maybe even the run game, honestly. But the pass rush, Sam Flannel, your thoughts?
I mean, but I'm going to be more of a glass half full guy because I'm an optimist, unlike you, Jeff Iafrate. I think it is a testament more to what Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston did last year. Do I think that the pass rush is going to be their biggest strength? No, I would say their offensive line. But could it be their second biggest strength? You could argue secondary. You could maybe argue the backfield, but it wouldn't shock me at all if it is the pass rush, especially if Aiden Hutchinson takes that year 2 leap that I expect him to take. And I also accounted for James Houston, who as a 6th-round draft pick who only played 7 games, had more sacks than Kayvon Thibodeau and Trayvon Walker combined, who were both top 5 picks. One of them was a number 1 overall pick. So to me, I'm going to choose to look at it as PFF kind of recognizing what the Lions pass rush has. I'm going to go down to something that really kind of grinded my gears when looking at this, which tells me that I shouldn't take this as seriously as maybe I should, but this is actually an article, so I have to respond to it. So at the end of it, they have an over-under for 9. And PFF actually has the Lions going under, which if that happened, I think we would all agree would be an abject disaster of a season. But listen to their reasoning. This is what really drives me crazy. This shows me that PFF did not watch the Lions and don't understand them at all. This is a difficult team to project because of how much they overachieved in 2022 and the ever-changing NFC North landscape. But given how little the team improved on the offensive side of the ball in the offseason, expect some regression in 2023. Is that really what you're going to harp on, the offense not improving? They were a top 5 offense last season, and guess who's coming back? Ben Johnson. Guess who else is coming back? Jared Goff. And they lost their backfield. They quickly upgraded that with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. A top 5 offensive line in the NFL is completely intact. And oh, by the way, Vaitai is healthy, and they added Graham Glasgow.
Well, and you still got your number 1 wide receiver who's only getting better.
Well, absolutely. They have a number 1 wide receiver. And they also, and I'm going to parlay this into something something else. They also talk about wide receiver depth as a question mark. But what if Jamison Williams, who is going to be available for 11 games, presumably full go, what if he actually turns into what we think that he is, which a potential star wide receiver? Then the wide receiver depth conversation is over, and by that definition, they would have improved their wide receiver room as well. And to Lucas, Lucas is going to love this. They got a tight end one. I'm not calling I'm not calling for Sam Laporta to be a Hall of Famer, but do I think he's better than Brock Wright? Well, I can't say Shane Zylstra anymore. Brock Wright and James Mitchell combined right now? Absolutely, I do, although I like James Mitchell. So this idea that PFF is choosing the offensive regression as a reason that the Lions are going to win less than 9 games, do you even watch the Lions, bro? If anything, you could look at the interior defensive line. That could be a question mark. You could look at the linebackers. You could look at the fact that the secondary has, I think it's very, very talented, but they haven't really played together as a unit, and a couple of them have injury concerns like Emmanuel Mosley and Tracy Walker and CJ Gardner-Johnson. But to say that the Lions are going to win less than 9 games because their offense will regress and they didn't address it, who did they lose? DJ Chark, which is, I think, becoming a more significant loss. The more I dive into it, it's a substantial loss. But the reality also is, and Lucas, you're gonna like this. In 11 games, he only caught like 30 passes for 502 yards. He didn't do that much, but he was probably the biggest loss of the offseason so far. Is that fair? Because with Jamal Williams, they got David Montgomery, and with DeAndre Swift, they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs.
I don't know. Josh Reynolds can pretty much do anything you want DJ Chark to do. Marvin Jones, same thing. I think you can find DJ Charks anywhere. Like, people were like, oh my God, how is Jared going to throw without DJ Chark? It's just like, look, the guy's not like DJ Chark's a bum or anything, but what does DJ Chark do on an elite level that Marvin Jones or any of these other receivers that are X can't? Like, it's just a mid guy. That's all it was.
What about this comment? Casey says, Lions don't need a pass rush. According to Neil Rule, J-Mo will be scoring 10 TDs a game. That's
actually true.
Yeah, according to Neil, they don't you know what? You just throw away the defense. I think J-Mo single-handedly outscores us week-to-week basis. I love it. And just to kind of speak on the PFF stuff, and they base a lot of the roster stuff on grades, so, like, who cares? The PFF grades, it is what it is. And whether you like PFF and it supports your argument or you don't, I don't really care. I don't use PFF too much. I only use it really to grade, I guess, certain players that you can't really measure stats on, like offensive linemen, stuff like that. Maybe some defensive linemen, the pass rush, win rate, all that stuff. But the biggest strength of 2023, the pass rush, Broder, is that, and by the way, just to give context, the next roster behind the Lions at 14 is the Cleveland Browns. Guess what their strength is? Offensive line. And the Lions have a better offensive line. Explain that. They do. No doubt. If you want to debate it, we can debate it.
It's close. They're both top 5 O-lines.
The Lions,
they're better.
The Lions have more depth. They have better tackles, and they have arguably the best center in football outside of Jason Kelsey. You can argue with Creed. Me and you obviously like Creed, but Frank's obviously arguable for 2. I don't think it's even like, there's like, when it's levels to it, yeah, like Cleveland's a top 5 O-line, but there's a level where it's like Detroit, San Francisco, Philadelphia.
Those guards, though. Cleveland guards.
They have good guards, but outside of that, you're not right home.
But the most important position, center and tackle, Lions have better positions than the Browns.
Okay.
If you want to say guards, like, cool, but like tackle, center, Lions have that advantage.
I think it's a big advantage on the guards, but that's neither here nor there. Broder, I'm sorry. I took away your time. I'm a bet.
But anyway, make sense of it, Broder. You think the pass rush is a legit strength?
What about this Jonah Jackson and Vitae Graham Glasgow slander are we talking about?
Well, the argument is the Browns come in a ranking right behind the Lions, and their biggest strength in 2023, according to PFF, is the offensive line.
Yeah.
But the Lions, it's the pass rush, even though I would argue the Lions have a better offensive line.
Yeah, our biggest strength isn't the pass rush. Our pass rush has some potential to be great and maybe a strength by the end of the season, depending on how Charles Harris plays, how he stays healthy, depending on how James Houston plays. Is he going to be a 3-down edge, or are we going to see him just rush the pass on 3rd down? Our biggest strength is most definitely our offensive line. I don't know why that wasn't mentioned. Even you could go secondary. I understand why maybe PFF or a lot of people wouldn't say secondary yet because they haven't seen it on the field, but from watching them in training camp, that could most certainly be our strength by the end of the season. And also that wide receiver room depth.
Yes.
It's not an elite wide receiver room, but what's good about it is the depth. Like, you have Amon-Ra at the top, and even without Jamison Williams, take him out of the picture, we have a really good wide receiver room after that. Marvin Jones, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. Like, these are guys that are very strong contributors and work perfect with Jared Goff. So the value that DJ Chark brings, or even Jamison Williams, is more the threat of a deep threat, the threat of being able to throw it. So that when the defenses and the defensive coordinators are preparing, that's what they have to practice and think about, that threat over the top, which opens up those short and mid routes and all the stuff out of the backfield.
Like, when you bring up the strength too, Broder, like in this, I'm sure Cleveland does the same thing. This isn't even an argument towards Cleveland, but when you have an elite offensive line, you game plan around that offensive line. The Lions, Ben Johnson, Dan, they vocally have said everything on a week-to-week basis is based around this offensive line, meaning what? It's their best unit.
Yes.
Period. On the entire team. Like, this isn't even, there's no debate there. Now you can bring up the secondary, a lot of talent there, but no, the offensive line is by far their best unit. A lot of potential. James Houston potential, Aiden potential, like Josh Pascal potential, Levi, but these guys aren't proven. Like, Frank's been an all-pro. Like, Panay's already one of the better right tackles in the league. You got Jonah, who will get paid. You have Taylor Decker, who I would say is a top 10, top 15 left tackle, wherever you want to put him.
He's
but
had
regardless,
an incredible training camp, by the way, Taylor Decker.
Exactly. So they have that is what I don't really understand, but it is what it is. I think this season, the strength, it's going to be if it's not the offensive line, I think it's going to be the secondary. I do, because I get it has to all come together on paper. But C.J. Gardner-Johnson, man, like, I know it's training camp. He's out there flying around. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that secondary will be one of the strengths.
He's special.
He really is.
Gardner-Johnson's special.
And what better week to test him than week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs?
Against the Kansas
and by
City.
the way, speaking of Chiefs and speaking of Lions games, me and Sam are going to give our top 5 most important games this season.
Ooh.
No order. I didn't do order. We're just going to do top 5. And,
all right.
And you can break them down. I'll break down the games I have. Me and Sam have different lists, but I can't wait to get into that and much more. But before we do that, Sam, can you tell everybody where you work out and get those guns?
Oh,
yes,
yes.
that
My
time.
favorite read of the day, because, I mean,
Show him!
read
Get
him in
him,
wheat.
flannel!
Read him in wheat. Read him in wheat. Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes, and the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month.
Only $10?
Yes, still only $10
Damn, are you
a
kidding
month,
me?
JB. I am not kidding. I cannot tell a lie.
Let me hold $10.
Absolutely. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we have provided teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out for free all summer long with our high school Summer Pass program. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Flunk alarm.
At work and at home. We're there with smarter security solutions, featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Thanks for sticking with us. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Again, we appreciate every single one of you guys in the chat. I will say this, and I'll continue to say this. The Morning Woodward Show, man, that chat, I think we have the best audience on the network.
Yeah.
I do. I know a
100%.
lot of people still go to the other shows, which I appreciate, by the way. And don't forget Big D Energy, 11 to 1, Ermanni and Edwards with Maz, 2 to 4, and of course the heavies, 5 to 7. But I love this audience, man. It always makes me laugh. But we got to get to more football. We got to get to more Lions. But before we do that, hit the like button on the stream.
Hit the like.
Lions fans, don't forget, if you can't watch the show, you can always re-listen to the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review for the boys, for the Morning Woodward Show. But it's time to get into it. me and Sam's most important games for the Lions. Let's
Drop
get
a
into
beat,
Sam's.
JB. Drop a beat for it.
Yeah, give us a beat, JB. Let's get to Sam's list first, and then we'll get to mine. Take it away, Sam Flannel.
Okay, so I'm sure every single person is going to agree with every single one of the selections on this list. Okay, so the number one most important game that I have for the Detroit Lions to win this year, it is week 2 at home versus the Seattle Seahawks. I am on record, and a lot of people are going to call me a hater for this. I do not think the Lions are winning at Arrowhead in week 1. That's a tough environment. They're going up against the defending Super Bowl champions, the best quarterback, the best coach, the best tight end, one of the best centers, arguably the best defensive lineman, although Aaron Donald and Quinnen Williams might have something to say about it. The Chiefs are a juggernaut, but the Lions can still have every single thing they want this season. And the way that they got to start that is by avenging last season's loss at home to the Seattle Seahawks, a game in which they did not force a single punt all game long. And furthermore on that, the Lions cannot start 0-2. And the Seahawks are one of those teams that are talked about as maybe they're actually the third best team in the NFC. Maybe they're actually a contender more so than the Detroit Lions. For those reasons, I think mostly just for the fact that they need to be 1-1, they can't start 0-2, and for revenge, they absolutely need to beat the Seattle Seahawks at home in week 2. All right, and my second most important game, it would be week 4 at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. So Lambeau Field has been a house of horrors for the Detroit Lions throughout pretty much their entire existence. And this is also the year where they need to prove they can go on the road, win at Lambeau, a team that no longer has a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and no longer has a Hall of Fame quarterback in Brett Favre. They have Jordan freaking Love. But the Packers have some pieces. They have some pieces in the backfield, they have some pieces on the offensive line and in the defense. But I think the Lions, this would go a long way into proving they are the top dogs of this division, and to kind of take away the stigma of Lambeau Field or the fear of Lambeau Field, which they helped vanquish last season. So yes, and it's also a division game, their first division game of the season. All right, and the third most important game, I will go to week 8 at home versus Las Vegas on Monday Night
To the
Football.
big game, Flannel. To the big game.
Michael Mayer!
No.
Michael Mayer, dude.
Jimmy
This is
G.
Laporta versus Mayer, actually.
Yeah,
You know what?
Laporta versus Mayer.
It's not
know
going
what?
to be close.
Let me explain this, because I have a philosophy on why I pick these games. These aren't like the hardest games. Here's the thing. This is week 8. Jamison Williams will have been back. This is his first home game back, and they are coming off of a 2-game road trip. One of them is at Tampa Bay, which that should be a win. If they lose that game, it's a disaster. But then after that, it is at Baltimore. I think one of the most likely losses on the schedule for the Detroit Lions. I'm not really as big on Baltimore as some, but with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback, they tend to win a lot of games and a lot of home games. So to put the world on notice, even more so than they may have already had, go in, win that game, destroy the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that is not going to be very good in my estimation, on Monday Night Football, win that game something like 34-17 and put the world on notice.
And your brand new alternate helmets.
A brand new alternate helmets. Thank you so much,
yeah, that
Matt
is true.
Broder. All right, and my fourth most important game for the Lions to win, Week 11 at home versus the Chicago
And Justin
Bears.
Fields.
Wait,
we were
hold
just
on. The
talking about.
MVP candidate, Justin Fields.
Dark horse.
I was told.
Dark horse, Jeff Iafrate. Dark horse. And here's why. I think the Chicago Bears are going to be better than a lot of people think they're going to be. I think they're going to be a 7 or 8 win team, and they are going to be hungry to go into Ford Field and potentially ruin the Lions. I wouldn't say ruin their season, but I think the Lions will have a winning record by then, and there's nothing more that Justin Fields and company would like than to go into Ford Field and win that game, a game that they lost 41-10 last year. I think this is another one of those games where the Lions can really prove that they are the class of the NFC North. By then, hopefully they have a 2 or 3 game lead in the division after this win. And oh, by the way, it's coming right after another one of the games most likely to be a loss at Los Angeles against the Chargers. I think they're going to lose that game. I think the Lions are going to need a get right at home versus the Chicago Bears, and I think they're likely to get it, but they cannot lose that game under any circumstances. And my fifth most important game for the Lions this year to win, Week 16 at Minnesota. Another one of the toughest losses for the Lions last year, a game in which I think we all agree that Dan Campbell blew. Dan Campbell and
Yeah.
Team Blue.
Yeah.
I think
or Ermanni Uwaria. You pick one of
Well,
them.
both.
But Dan
Yes.
messed up a couple times in that game as well. Although Amani messed up, and Juju Hughes blew that big play to
yeah.
KJ Osborne, but you're not far
Well,
off.
it was a bad loss. I would
Yeah,
say
it
that
was.
it was in terms of losses that really cost them the playoffs. You look at Seattle, you look at Carolina, and you look at Minnesota.
Yep.
And by then, the Minnesota Vikings, I think, will be floundering at about 4-10 or 5-9 or something like that.
Vikings will be.
Absolutely, at that point, I think the Vikings are going to blow this year. I think they're going to suck.
I mean, I'm here for it.
Or you know what? Maybe 6-8. We shall see. But anywho, go on the road, and maybe this is the game where the Detroit Lions, dare I say, clinch the goddamn division altogether. Make it so that game at Dallas, although for seeding, I think Dallas is going to be the wild card team anyway. Make it so that at least the home game against Minnesota is just a celebration and a party. It can be relatively meaningless. And I think even though the Vikings, I don't think they're going to be very good, going into Minnesota and winning, I think is another huge barrier for the Lions to get over. And I think the Lions are going to be much better than the Vikings. And like I said, they are going to clinch that division week 16 at Minnesota. So I guess my philosophy on this whole list is these are games that they absolutely have to win under no uncertain terms. I didn't pick some of the big games like at Kansas City because I think they're league losses already. If they lose any single one of those games on that list,
You think they're in trouble?
I think they're in trouble. Absolutely.
So just so we can be clear, so people aren't like, oh, how do you leave out KC? You think the most important games in your eyes are the ones that are must wins more so than the most to gain, like the Kansas Cities and the Baltimores and the Chargers. Like those are obviously big games, but most important, you don't believe they are.
Yeah, you must wins to Sam's point, and you're assuming
Just
that
so we can get clarity on it.
Yes.
and that Seahawks game, Sam, to Sam's point, is the first home game.
The first home game, and I think they're going to be 0-1. I think this is going to be perceived as a bit of a hot take. I don't think winning at Kansas City is that important. I don't really care about league, about how the Lions are perceived or anything. I think they're going to lose that game, and that's fine because you can't put all of your eggs in the Kansas City basket. If you lose that game at Kansas City, which it's a rite of passage for an up-and-coming team, everybody loses to Kansas City. Buffalo loses at Kansas City. Cincinnati loses at Kansas City.
Only once.
Hey, but that's fair. Philadelphia lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl. San Francisco lost to Kansas City at home. They got blown the F out. So it is a rite of passage for the Lions to lose at Kansas City, but they can't let the Kansas City Chiefs beat them twice. Go to Seattle, become 1-1, avenge last season's loss, and then we ride. Everything they want is right in front of them, even if they do lose to Kansas City.
Now, this comment, also Eric Allen chiming in. Appreciate you, Eric. Always joining the show. He says 4 out of 5 picks by Sam are NFC teams. Those games are very important.
Of course, and I have 3 NFC North opponents. I have them all. I play them every single NFC North opponent.
I like
on
the
my
Raiders
list.
pick too because with the Lions hype that we expect to be, especially what is that, week 8?
Yeah.
So week 8, I don't think they're buys before that, so they'll be 5-3, 6-2 around that, and then you have your first meaningful primetime game at home in Detroit. What is it, Monday Night Football?
Monday
So
Night Football.
all the eyes are going to be on Detroit. It's going to be like that real Kirk Cousins test for Jared Goff, I think, because we saw last year when Kirk Cousins went into Philadelphia Monday night and you saw him get exposed inside Philadelphia in a big game. You're like, okay, these Vikings are obviously not legit. And if we somehow blow that game against the Raiders, who are obviously a tier under us, maybe even 2, I think it's one of those things where it's like that's where we see if we're legit, because that's another one of those games where if you walk in blind, Max Crosby will tear up that backfield. They have Devontae Adams. I know they have Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback, but they still have talented players we can get smacked in the mouth with. If Josh Jacobs is playing, which I think he might be looking at how it is recently, that's a big game.
Yeah, it is, no doubt. And even Amp chiming in. Amp, I don't think I've seen you in the chat too often, so I appreciate you for joining the show. He says Sam is on fire right now. Sam
Call
cooking.
the fire department. Call a fire extinguisher.
okay.
I need it.
Well, you know what?
Flannel, you got some credit.
Okay,
now you're
you know what?
not to give it back to you.
You know what? Now it is my turn. All right, and Sam,
turn.
great job. I
you.
especially that Seahawks game. That was one that I looked at your list and I'm like, oof, yeah, that is important. First home game. But we're gonna get to my list, and
JB, drop a beat.
It differs from Sam Flannel. But hold the beat because hold on, no. We gotta go to break. We gotta go to break. Oh,
We got a sneak peek.
Come on here. What are we doing?
Hey, don't screenshot that. Don't screenshot that.
Leaked all over Twitter.
You're supposed to be surprised.
Leaked.
Damn it. It's all right, Lucas. I still love you. We'll go to break. When we get back, we'll get to
Love
my
you too,
list because
Jeff.
you guys don't know my list. Men in Black, Flash. Now you don't know anything. Damn! All right, you know what? We'll go to break.
Now it's time for my list. But wait.
It's all right. Wait, you don't know the list yet, all right? Just pretend like you don't. But before we do that, I got to hear about our friends from Randy Wise. But
That's Broder, isn't it?
you Broder, do you have Randy Wise?
I got Randy Wise.
You want to
for
take it away for us?
Well, it depends. How would you like to see famous athletes like Jim Harbaugh, Darren McCarty, and Braylon Edwards play golf with average Joes? Thanks to Randy Wise Automotive and Woodward Sports, you will be able to do just that. It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. Make the wise choice and pay attention to Woodward Sports for more info soon.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
Go. All right, 3, 2.
Hey, it's Chris Hansen, Woodward Sports. Let's go.
Man, even Chris Hansen, the GOAT, even he approves of Woodward Sports. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show. Thank you to everybody joining the show, chiming in, showing support. Keep the comments coming. Get your opinions out there. Again, guys, don't forget, like the video. We'll try to get to over 100 likes by the end of this segment. We just got to Sam Flannel's list. We're going to get to my list because you didn't see it. Yeah, you didn't see it yet. Luke is still on my list.
Okay, are we good now? Are we good?
Yeah, we good. Throw it up there, baby. Okay, there's my top 5 most important games. And there you have it, week 1 at the Chiefs. I don't give a damn who it is. Week 1, you're playing the Super Bowl champs. You talk about important games. This right here, week 1, sets the tone. You beat the Chiefs. It changes everybody's narrative. Now, if you lose, to Sam's point, you won't be murdered for it. But talk about a game that could swing a season.
So much to gain.
So much to gain.
Really nothing to lose.
And really not too much to lose. You go out there and you spoil the Super Bowl champs, their night. They get the ring. They get the ring they deserve. And the Lions come in pissed off and steal a win in Kansas City.
Sam Laporta.
Now that is an important game.
Travis Kelce will pass the sword that game to Sam Laporta.
Okay. Well, there you lose me. But the next game I have here on here is week 4 at the Packers, and I'll tell you why. Okay? You face Atlanta on Sunday. Short week. 4 days later, you play the Packers on the road. First game against the Packers. You gotta win. You gotta win. It's Jordan Love's debut against the Detroit Lions. You swept them last year against Aaron Rodgers. How last season ended at Lambeau leaves a bad taste in all those Packers players' mouths. It's your turn to get revenge. You go back and you solidify it. No, bitch! We were supposed to win that game. Here's another row.
This is the game, Jefferson.
It is.
You left off Seattle, but you make up with it for this one.
Yes, because the reason why I left off Seattle is because I got the Chiefs. I didn't want to make the first 2 games the most important games of the season, but I chose the Chiefs. Sam's got a great point about it being, it's the first home game. If you lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, it is an important game. But I'm going a step before that. I'm going to Chiefs. You got to swing at Goliath, even if you're David here. And I think the Lions have a good chance to do it.
Well, biblical verse.
Week 17 against the Cowboys. Now, I got a little different, and I like this comment here. Corey Berry says Jeff has a primetime theme to it, and that's different from Sam. I took the big games, right? And you look at the opponents, besides the Chiefs, all NFC. Right? The Cowboys are a team that we may face, the Detroit Lions may face in the playoffs. And look at what happened last year. They smacked you around at Dallas. Now, it was close into the fourth quarter and you completely melted down, but you need to show the Cowboys that things are different. We're not going to melt down in the fourth quarter. Dak Prescott, Dakota Rain Prescott. We're going to hand you this L served up hot for you. That's what we're going to do. And that's why I think the Lions going to Dallas. And again, you look at it, it's week 17. It's really 2 games before the season's over. But look at the 3-4 game stretch to end the season. Versus Denver. They face Denver. At Minnesota. At Dallas. You face Minnesota again. Those 4 games, although Minnesota I don't think will be great, those are important games to end the season.
Any rival, or not rivalry game, but any division game, it's going to be closer than what it should be most of the time.
Absolutely. And then you take on Dallas. I think Dallas is a super, super important game. Now, let's go to the next one. Week 13 against the Saints. Another team that you could face in the playoffs. You travel to New Orleans. New Orleans has all the hype. They got Derek Carr. Lucas's boyfriend. He got all the guys.
10 days out of 10. That's for damn sure.
They got Derek Carr. Dennis Allen, don't know if he's a good coach, but the Saints are expected to win their division, make some noise, be in the playoffs, travel over there week 13 and whoop some ass. How about that? Important. That'll set the tone.
What's up.
And show Jamal what's up. That's a great point. Jamal Williams now a new addition running back for the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints are an important game because, again, look at the road games I got, guys. All road games.
That's true. Wow. It's very true.
All road games. Why is that? Because the Lions, until the second half of last season, have not proven consistently they can win on the road. This is the year to do it. Go get some road games. We know how good they are at home. Right, they're a very good team at home, but on the road, there's a little bit of different performance from the Detroit Lions. They got to prove it this year. You got to go out. You got to win on the road. Put up the list. Last game for me. Week 16 against the Vikings. Now, I'll tell you why, and Sam nailed it last segment talking about the Vikings. That game was yours to win last season. It was yours to win. Juju Hughes, Ermanni Aubrey Pleasant, Dan Campbell, Michael Badgley. You can throw the blame everywhere, but the matter of the fact is you lost. You lost at Minnesota, and this is your chance to redeem yourself this upcoming season. You play them at the end of the season, too, because you got to think. You play Minnesota week 16. You're there on the road. Then you go to Dallas. Then you play Minnesota again. So we think that to close the season, they could take down Minnesota at home.
You'd hope.
Go beat them on the road because it'll make things a little more easier to digest. Like, oh, if we lose this home game, now you got to win the home game to end the season. You don't want to be swept by the Vikings. So go beat them on the road and then go sweep them at home to end the season. Those are my top 5 most important games. No order. These are the games that I feel can make a statement for the Detroit Lions. You know, you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. What a statement that'll do. Right, you beat the Dallas Cowboys on the road. What another statement. You take down the Packers on the road on a short week against Jordan Love, the new quarterback. Many people don't know what he could be or what he is now. Go make a statement. The Saints, a team that we expect to be in the playoffs. You could face them in the playoffs. Go make a statement. On the road to Minnesota, redeem yourself from last season. Those are my top 5 most important games. Thoughts on that?
Well, so we had a couple in common with the at Green Bay and at Minnesota, and I think we both echoed how important those games are. I mean, just in terms for playing on the road at your divisional opponents and just for basically taking the division and saying this is ours to win and leaving no doubt. But one thing that I will say about Kansas City, and I'm not downplaying the importance of it. You guys actually hit it on the head. It is a high upside win, I will say that, because if the Lions go into Kansas City and somehow win that game, I think we're all going to be talking about Super Bowl. I think we all might do the show basically in the nude the next day, just with
be drunk.
Hey, drunk coming off of a bender, all of that.
Tequila shots happening 8 o'clock on the dot that Friday morning.
Yes,
there won't be a sober Lucas at all.
Well, and it
smoke weed every day.
Absolutely.
That after. Maybe even before, JB. Maybe we'll get that. Maybe me and you can have some fun out back before the show starts, and we'll start dipping in tequila on the air.
Hey, when all else fails, listen to Nate Dogg, right? But go ahead.
I want to just say this too. Ashton, the trainer's in the chat. Shout out to him. Big friend of the show, big friend of the network, my good friend as well, and he's a big Cowboys fan. As always, him, obviously Kate, all those guys. Texas, born in Texas, so they're going to be Cowboys fans. But I'll tell you this, Ashton. We're coming for that ass this year. We're coming to take down the Cowboys. Pause. But we're coming after the Cowboys. I'm telling you one thing right now. We can't lose. You can't lose to the Cowboys. You can't.
My Lions,
Do you have the Dak Prescott clip?
I have them queued up for 9:40, but I'll happily play this now.
Play the clip.
I got 2 of them.
Ashton, this is your quarterback? Can you confirm this? I'm just trying to confirm it. There's a video that, at training camp, Dak was already in midseason form.
Look at this dog. What's going on? And then after, here's more. This is after this. Trayvon Diggs and him got into it.
He got into it.
Trayvon Diggs said, "Shut your bitch ass up" to Dak, and then Dak threw the ball at him.
Ashton.
That's who leading the Cowboys to a Super Bowl? No. You got Jalen Hurts in your division to get through first. I would put Cowboys, just for me personally, they would have been my number one game because it's my least favorite franchise in the NFL. They're probably the Lions' biggest competition as far as, like, you got the Eagles and Niners that you compare. I think that next level in the NFC this year is going to be the Cowboys and Lions. So I think that shows a lot. It shows what the Lions are built of.
Yes.
You go in there, you smack Dak around, you let Panay put Micah in a phone booth again, as Neil Rule loves to say. I'm a big Micah Parsons guy. But
to Ashton's point about being excited for the Cowboys, and there's people that have the Cowboys winning that NFC East this year.
They do every year. It's the Cowboys, man.
And the fact behind that is a new team has won the NFC East every single year, typically. So maybe it's the Cowboys season, but Ashton, we got to beat y'all, man. We got to beat y'all on the road.
It's happening.
You whooped our ass last year due to some, the team breaking down in the fourth quarter. But regardless, we're coming, and they got to win on the road, and that's a big part of it. But also, you beat the Cowboys this season. People start, okay, the Lions are they take down the Cowboys. They beat, let's just say hypothetically, they beat the Chiefs. Like, now the Lions are in a different tier, and people are going to put more respect on them.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's different talking about it, but when they actually go out and show it, that's another thing.
I mean, I think there's a chance that the Cowboys game at the end of the year, except if it means anything for seeding, could be meaningless when it comes to the division. But seeding could be everything in the NFC.
I think it'll be one of those games where it's like, the Lions going to be a 3 seed, 4 seed, 5 seed? Same thing with the Cowboys.
Right, and the Cowboys, I don't think they will win the division, so I don't think they will ultimately be fighting for seeding with the Cowboys, but there's other teams around, like the Niners and the Eagles, or maybe even the Saints or something like that, who the Lions might have to battle for seeding for. But I'll tell you what, Lucas, with that video of Dak Prescott, I was told, I was told yesterday, I'm about to make a lot of people mad. I was told that if you drop a couple passes in practice and get into a skirmish, it means nothing. It's just practice, only when it's Jameson Williams. So when Dak Prescott makes a bad interception in practice, oh my God, he sucks. He's the worst quarterback of all time.
You're saying I'm only going to have 10 drops this year.
Or 10 picks.
And I'm not the most highest paid player on the team, which Dak is. He's the reason they can't go out and re-sign Zach Martin right now, even though he's a mid-quarterback, just like Kirk Cousins. If you're going to go out there and talk more than Kirk Cousins, you better play better than him, and he hasn't so far. And if there's going to be footage of you after you saying, yeah, I'm not throwing 10, and then you throw into double coverage and you don't even make it to the receiver and the safety comes over and it's not even like a catchable ball, excuse me.
Do I need to?
It's disgusting.
You know what, Lucas? And I get it. Dak Prescott had a bad year last year. Leading the NFL in interceptions despite missing 5 starts is abhorrent. But
Whoa. It is what?
Abhorrent. That's a word. Look it up.
JB, Google it.
Can you use it? What's the definition of this?
It's just like something. It's terrible but worse.
Okay.
It's just horrible.
Inspiring disgust and loathing, repugnant.
Thank you, bro.
And right, isn't 15 interceptions in 12 games? That is abhorrent by definition.
Especially when you got CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Dalton Schultz was having a nice year, and now you're going to lose Kellen Moore. And they got Brandon Cooks, but you still got Dak Prescott. And they don't have Zeke anymore, who they were feeding the ball just because they had to feed him. So that's going to put it in Dak's arm more. They have Tony Pollard as the RB1, so they're going to be passing the ball more regardless. There's going to be more turnovers for Dak. Yeah, 100%.
Right, that's fine, but do I really need to invoke Allen Iverson here? Do I really need to say we talking about practice?
Dak needs more of it. He needs a lot more practice, and if he keeps practicing like this, he's throwing more than 10 picks, and the Lions are winning. That's all we know, and I know Dak's mid. Everybody knows that he's just going to go out there and prove it again.
I mean, all I'm saying is when Saint J-Mo does anything wrong, you guys are just like, oh my God, how can you say anything wrong about J-Mo? And it was just practice, and that's all well and good. I just want the same energy for Dak Prescott.
No.
Dak Prescott is an easy target. You guys all think that he's the worst quarterback ever. He had 37 touchdowns and 10 picks in 2021.
He's the most mid quarterback ever. Definition of it.
I do think there's a part of it, and I don't want to say that Dak is trash, but there's a part of it that being on America's team, Dak Prescott, I do think there's a part of it that he's overrated.
It's just what it is. The human he is, but I cannot stand the football player.
Great human being.
Yeah,
and he's had some good seasons, but I just think there's a little bit of that overrating part of it, where it's like the Dallas Cowboys with Dak's tenure, with him being there, they've had a lot of seasons where they've won double-digit games, but they just fall short. They fall short, and hopefully, you know what? For Ashton, hey Ashton, I'm rooting for you. Hopefully, you guys make it far enough just to face the Lions and then you take an L. But regardless, maybe they can bounce back. Maybe Dak's right. Maybe he won't throw over 10 interceptions this season.
I mean, I think Dak is going to have a fine year. I'm not saying that he's going to be MVP or anything like that. I'm just saying that I think last year was more of an anomaly than I think people give him credit for.
And we shall see.
There's nothing about his tenure as a Cowboys quarterback that shows he's a turnover machine, except for last season.
And I love this comment. Chuck says, Jeff, if Dak played in Minnesota, how was he looked at differently?
I think he literally would be the exact same thing.
He's saying, like, talked about. Because he plays for the Cowboys, I do think there's a little bit of it where
there's more talk
like
there,
Minnesota,
but there's also
it would just
more
be
people
like,
who love him because he's there.
It would be like kind of like the Kirk narrative, like, oh yeah, he's good, he's playing out in Minnesota, but he wouldn't get all the love he gets, or be talked about as much because he's in Dallas.
Maybe, but still, it's the exact same quarterback.
Yeah, it is what it is. We shall see. But those are my top 5 most important games. Sam went through his. Man, I cannot wait. Football. This is the first week now. We're going to be with football till February, and the NFL till February. So I can't wait for that. But those are my top 5 games. This was fun, and we'll revisit this through
I like the list.
The season. Appreciate that. Yeah, me and Sam, very different list, which I respect. Very different list. We'll go to break when we get back. I want to bring up this college football playoff projection list, and they have percentages of teams that have the percentage to make the playoffs, and there's a team that has the best percentage. You're going to want to see who that is. It's going to be surprising, I'll tell you that. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Dispo. Because, guys, let me tell you about Dispo. Because they take care of all their employees, their customers, even the people that they advertise for, which is us. They spoil us, man. They really do. And you can experience the true meaning of exceptional cannabis product with Dispo Dispensary. Indulge in the finest selection of cannabis curated with care, with over 12 locations, and now they just opened up another one in Whitmore Lake. Dispo is never too far away. Visit disposhops.com today and unlock a world of endless possibilities in the realm of cannabis. All you got to do is visit disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Back to the morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We're already halfway through the second hour of the show. Man, time flies when you're having fun. We got a good crew here today. Gabrielle D. Phillips is at training camp, holding it down, covering the Lions. We got our guy Matt Broder joining us. Jim Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz here as well. We just went through me and Sam's top 5 most important games for the Lions. That was a lot of fun. We'll revisit that closer to the season, but we got to get into some college football. And Lucas, you all good?
Give me like 10 more seconds.
Okay, so basically, ESPN College Football, they came out with this projection to make the playoff, or what team has the higher percentage to make the college football playoff. And this list was made by Heather Dinich, who is a senior writer for ESPN, covers college football. And here's the list. And this one.
Yeah, baby.
Okay.
You gotta put Marv on the cover.
Oh, jeez.
The best college football wide receiver
teams
ever.
With the best chance to make the college football playoffs. Number 1, Ohio State. 82.2 percentage to make the playoffs. Georgia comes in at 2, 63.1% chance to make the playoffs. Alabama comes in at 3rd, 62.1% to make the playoffs. Texas, 34.2. and Texas has a higher percentage than Michigan. Sam
Yeah,
Flannel, I can't wait for you.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan 25.9 to make the playoffs, and then USC with Caleb Williams 24.7.
Flannel probably. Look,
Is it?
Flannel's gonna kill somebody.
Quinn Ewers, baby.
And they're even admitting already that the fact that Ohio State's won, that Ohio State's beating Michigan this year.
And they're already saying Kyle McCord is that dude, Sam Flannel. What do you think? Should Michigan be, where are they?
Believe this shit.
They're 5th on this list to make the playoffs. The only team in the playoffs last year to retain their quarterback.
You know what? I will tell you what, and this isn't a disrespect to the other teams. I think Michigan should have the highest odds in the nation to make the college football playoff for a myriad of reasons. I'll get to them more later, but most importantly is because they do have the easiest and most seamless path. They have one really tough game at Penn State and home against Ohio State, and they have a lot of talent returning, but I want to get to Ohio State first, because I have a very complicated view of Ohio State this year, because I do think some Michigan fans, including myself at times, maybe are a little bit too dismissive. I don't think they have the defensive talent of Ohio State teams past, but they've got some good players.
Be nice.
I mean, yeah. I think they've got, like, who's that guy? TJ, their defensive end.
Yeah.
He's got, like, a Hawaiian last name or something like that.
I still can't say it correctly.
Yeah, Tiu Molo.
Yeah, it's JT Tumalowo, whatever how you say his last name. But yes.
He's damn good. I'm not disrespecting him. Tommy Eichenberg's a damn good linebacker, I would say. Although, I mean, he's good. He's good.
He's your throwback linebacker.
He's a throwback linebacker.
Blue collar type of guy.
Yeah,
he's the type of guy you want to date your daughter.
Oh, he's a hard worker. He's going to be the next Jack Campbell.
First one in, last one out mentality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
But that Ohio State offense, they did lose C.J. Stroud and Paris Johnson. I know, Lucas, you think that C.J. Stroud was single-handedly responsible.
It's McCord season now. Now we can go back to watching some Ohio State football.
According to Lucas Klutz, C.J. Stroud was single-handedly responsible for a 4-8 season, and he was not Heisman finalist 2 years in a row, and he wasn't a shanked field goal away from probably Ohio State winning a national championship last year. But anywho, I digress.
Any quarterback's looking good in that offense.
I mean, we'll see with Kyle McCord though. But you know what Ohio State does have, which is interesting. They've got the best wide receiver room in the country.
That's true.
There's no question about it. Absolutely. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best wide receiver in the country, no doubt about it. They got Emeka Egbuka, who's damn good as well. He would be the #1 wide receiver at any Big Ten team.
He's a dog, too.
Not Ohio
He's a
State.
burner, too.
And I'll tell you what, too. Julian Fleming, and Michigan fans are not going to like this. Julian Fleming would be the #1 wide receiver at Michigan, because Michigan's wide receiver room is a little bit, I would say, suspect. It's probably their biggest question mark. Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson. I
like Roman Wilson a lot
too.
as an Ohio State fan.
I do too, but I think Julian Fleming has been a little bit of a victim of being in too loaded of a wide receiver room. And also, I mentioned Tommy Eichenberg, Mike Hall, JT Tiumauliolo. I don't think I pronounced his name right. They've got some defensive pieces, but here's the thing about Ohio State, which I think will prevent them from making the college football playoff. I think they take an L at Notre Dame. Dame. Wait a minute.
You keep going.
Lucas,
You're good.
Notre Dame right now coming into this year has the most talented quarterback they've had since Brady Quinn. Sam Hartman is that dude. I think he threw 38 touchdown passes last year against it at Wake Forest. Notre Dame has had basically a assembly line of mid to bad quarterbacks pretty much since Brady Quinn. Would we all agree on that? I think
Ian Book, baby.
Ian Book blows. Ian Book is awful. What was that? Everett Golson, I think, was a
Everett Golson was solid.
No, he wasn't.
By the way,
solid.
Sam Hartman, the quarterback for Notre Dame now that was at Wake Forest, dude's like been in college for like 6 years now, which is crazy. I mean, he has like 5 seasons with Wake Forest, and he's
good,
going
though. He's good.
I know he is.
They do. And I think they're taking an L at Michigan. To the shock of absolutely no one, I think Michigan wins this game handily, and I think they're undefeated, but I think Ohio State has some talent, and they're going to be a tough out. Another team this year that is interesting, and I'm not even going to get to Texas just yet because that's absurd, but Alabama. Alabama on surface is a team that you think would regress. They lost, I think, the best quarterback in school history in Bryce Young. They lost the best defensive player in school history in Will Anderson. They lost Jahmyr Gibbs, a 12th overall pick, to the Lions. They lost arguably one of their best defensive backs in school history. You could argue their best. I'm not going to have that argument today, but it's arguable in Brian Branch. But here's the thing about Alabama. Go look at their schedule. I talked about Michigan's schedule being weak. They got home versus
it's a cakewalk.
Home versus Texas, which I think is a win, but they don't play Georgia in SEC play. I think they play at Auburn, but Auburn has been a little bit down lately. I think that Alabama, even though I think they have the worst talent of any Nick Saban team since maybe his first year, they still could go undefeated. But what about Texas, man?
Texas.
Here, but you know what? Let's be fair to Texas. They are returning. Who are they returning? Xavier Worthy. He's a damn good wide receiver. I like him a lot. Quinn Ewers showed some things.
He did.
He is not a slouch, and they do have a pretty damn good offensive lineman to protect Quinn Ewers' blind side. But they lost Bijan Robinson. They lost Roshan Johnson, who would have been a starter on any other team.
Roshan Johnson would have been a beast for him this year.
You know what's?
That's a sneaky pick for the Bears, man.
How did he not transfer? He's a starter playing behind the best running back in the country. And they lost 3 of their best defensive players. But Texas is another one. Look at their schedule. Take a little peek at their schedule. They have at Alabama. I think that is a massive L. But the Big 12, pretty weak. They have the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma. But Oklahoma is down under Brett Venables. They were terrible last year. And they have at TCU, who is, I think, going to take a huge step back. Texas has a path. But Michigan should absolutely 150,000% be number one. I'm talking numero uno on teams most likely to make the college football playoff. Because of all the teams we're talking about, of all the teams we're mentioning being the top teams, of all the teams that were in the college football playoff last year, plus Alabama, Michigan is the only one who retains their quarterback.
Yes.
And I think J.J. McCarthy will play his way into being the 3rd quarterback taken in the upcoming NFL draft. I don't think that's crazy at all.
No,
I don't think
not.
he's going to be Caleb Williams or Drake May, but he will be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. Book it. They are returning the best, without a shadow of a doubt, the best backfield in the country with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. Speaking of good backfields, Ohio State, Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams, but still, Michigan's is way...
Yeah, there's levels to it.
There's levels to it. They're retaining Chris Jenkins, a damn good defensive tackle for interior pressure and run stopping. They are retaining Zach Zinner and Trevor Keegan. They're bookend guards. I love what I see from them. They are returning Will Johnson, this year's Jim Thorpe Award winner, without a shadow of a doubt. Future top 10 draft pick.
Yeah, he's a dog. He is a dog.
You know what? Kool-Aid, you know what? You made a good point. Kool-Aid McKinstry and Will Johnson are the 2 best defensive backs in the country. No question about it. But I think Will Johnson has more talent. He's got great size. He is everything you want in a corner. And if he would have come out in this past draft after his freshman season, he would have been a 1st-round draft pick, no doubt about it. And in the secondary, a guy like Rod Moore. And like I said earlier, their schedule is just set up for them to go undefeated in the regular season. I'm not going to overlook Penn State. I think that's tough. But against Ohio State at home, I think Ohio State right now, and I don't put a lot of stock in this, but I think in this case, it has some merit. They're mentally broken.
Yeah.
Michigan
CJ Stroud will do that to you.
It wasn't all CJ Stroud, but anywho, Michigan, it has just a mental advantage over them right now. They are the kryptonite, because look at how close Ohio State played freaking Georgia, but they got their manhood taken from them at home versus Michigan by 22 points, culminating in 2 70-plus Donovan Edwards rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, and to kind of speak, and Chuck put this comment in, and I agree with him 100% because there's truth to this. He says chances are with a close loss to OSU, they still make the playoffs. Like, even given the fact...
Dude.
Like, and I'm not saying it will happen, and we can agree Michigan's the team to beat, which I don't understand the projection stuff. It's like they're retaining the quarterback. They're still the team to beat in the Big Ten, but you still have Ohio State, a team that you've beaten twice.
You know, if Michigan loses to Ohio State at home, rescind your invite. Rescind your invite to the college football playoff, even if you get there, because I don't want it.
And
if that happens,
and it's at the big house,
you will be
I'm
insufferable.
going to troll you for a good month and a half. Month and a half.
As you should, because it can't happen. It cannot happen.
Now, I'll say this, too. Michigan, when the season actually gets going, you talk about the path to making the college football playoff. Michigan has a pretty friendly path. And I even think with Cal McCord, they're still obviously a better team. Now, we don't know what to expect out of Cal McCord because C.J. Stroud looked pretty damn good the year he started, his first start.
Statistically, he did.
Yes, well, that's my point. And it doesn't mean Cal McCord can't fill the stat sheet. You're already claiming he's I don't know which way you're going with Cal McCord here. You think he's going to be big time or what?
I think he'll be what the Buckeyes actually need instead of trying to play Patrick Mahomes every play.
So Kyle McCord's the.
I mean, I don't know. I like you. I got to see McCord. I'm still not sold on the Buckeyes in general. They put me through a ringer over the last 2-3 seasons. So I'm gonna watch them. My hope is there, but
Yeah.
honestly, my belief is only in Brian Hartline in that receiver room. It's the only thing that'll always be hitting in Ohio State.
Excuse
with
me,
Ryan Day there.
Excuse me if I'm not crying boohoo tears for you being in a ringer for Ohio State in the last couple of years. They've still been damn good. They've just taken that ass whooping over Michigan a couple years in a row. I took it for a long time.
Now we got to go to break because we're already like a couple minutes into what's trending with Lucas. So we'll go to break. We'll come back. We'll get to that mailbag. Get your questions ready. We'll try to get to as many as we can. But before we do that, Sam, can you tell everybody about our friends over at Lady Jane's?
Oh, absolutely. And you all know how I feel about Lady Jane's, always having me looking in tip-top condition. And you can walk into any Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you and one for your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Play, practice, and party at 5 Iron Golf in Detroit, located inside of the Cambria Hotel. Downtown's newest sports bar has taken 13 TrackMan simulators, certified instructors, and a full bar and restaurant. Mention promo code Woodward at checkout for 50% off your first visit, and visit 5irongolf.com to tee up good times. That is 5irongolf.com.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, it's almost that time. Mailbag and then the end of the show. So before you leave, drop a like on the video. We'll try to get to 125 likes by the end of the segment. But you know what time it is, everybody. Check your watches. So what's trending with Lucas? Lucas, what do you got for us?
Alrighty, fellas. So we already kind of touched on it. I'm not going to rerun it back just so we got time for mailbag. But the Dak Prescott stuff, he's looking bad in camp. But someone who's making noise in camp, and he made a pretty big statement, he came out yesterday, is George Pickens. He says he's the best receiver in the world. And then you know what he did the next day at practice after that? This man did this.
That's on Joey Porter, too.
That's the
Joey
Porter
Jr.
The ball and George Pickens is a menace, man.
Yeah, I mean,
he is a menace.
George Pickens, I know he's only been in the league for 1 year, but he's showing flashes of like
D-Hop.
Yeah, like his
D-Hop.
hands. He had that catch last season where it was like barely in his hand, and he still came down with it. George Pickens is exciting. Now, when he
okay, so here's my question. Obviously, he's not the best receiver in the world. Right. Can he have the talent maybe one day? No one knows. But do you think George Pickens could become a top 10 receiver in the NFL this year? I want to hear from everybody.
This year, I don't know, because, again, the big part of that is with receivers, they play a ball-dependent position. So a lot of it depends on, is Kenny Pickett that dude to make him a top 10 receiver?
Well, let me rephrase it. Where do you think George Pickens will finish? Top 20, top 15, top 10?
I think he'll be a top 15 guy.
Okay.
I think he can clips 1,000 yards this season. I do.
Okay.
I think he's good enough for that. I mean, he had close. What did he have last year? Like
800 something.
Yeah, 800. He'll get 1,000. But I think as time goes on, he could be a top 12 guy. A lot of it just depends on, is Kenny Pickett a franchise quarterback? Which I think Steelers believe he is.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They weren't really airing it out too much last year, especially with Kenny Pickett. They were kind of playing it a little bit safe. To me, I think George Pickens, he could finish as maybe top 20 to 25 this year, but he certainly has elite level talent. It's just when you're talking about wide receivers in the NFL, I did a list of top 10 that didn't include Terry McLaurin, that didn't include Mike Evans, that didn't include DK Metcalf, that didn't include Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, who both had more receiving yards last year than George Pickens. But I'll tell you what, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not calling for this, but George Pickens, I think, has as much talent as even Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, who I both like. The wide receiver position is just so loaded in today's NFL. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, a lot of talent.
JB?
I probably got to lean with you, Jeff. top 15 because the talent is there. Definitely, you can see that off of the film as well too. But it's all dependent on Kenny Pickett if he is that guy, and if the Steelers feel like they're going to continue to roll with him, and we'll just have to wait and see on that. But I like the guy. He's definitely talented. So top 15 for me.
Broder?
I'm with you. Top 15, definitely top 20. I'm pretty high on Kenny Pickett, and I don't think he's going to win the MVP, but he's got plus 4,000 odds. Like I put him in that category as a good bet if you're looking to make a big splash like Justin Fields. And he's got Allen Robinson and Deontay Johnson alongside
Jalen
him.
Warren too.
He's got the infrastructure.
Yeah,
like
Jalen
unlike
Warren.
Fields, I mean, I'm higher on Tomlin. I'm higher on that defense. I'm
Right.
higher on there's more there, so I can see that.
Exactly.
But George Pickens, you talk about hands in the NFL, dude. He's already.
He's gonna be up there.
He's dude. I'm telling you. Every time I watch George Pickens, like he's a highlight reel essentially. So I'm excited for him.
And then I'll ask kind of one more question off this because we'll get the mailbag quick. Looking back at it, do you wish the Lions would have stayed at 32 and taken George Pickens, or do you still wish they traded up and got J-Mo like they did?
I'll take J-Mo.
Okay.
I'll take J-Mo because, and I know that sounds like ridiculous, but and just hear me out here. J-Mo's speed, like the speed he possesses, and people forget. I know people, and it's rightfully so. You judge his NFL career, but go back to college. Like, what did he do against George Pickens' team?
Yep.
The Georgia Bulldogs. He lit them up before he went down. So I would take Jameson Williams. I know people would say, well, he was injured his first year and he's already suspended. Trust me, I would take J-Mo with a guy with that type of speed. I know George Pickens is damn fast too. He runs like a 4.3 something, but J-Mo's faster, and I do think your offense becomes more explosive with J-Mo, and I think J-Mo could be a better route runner. I do. I think J-Mo could be a better route runner. You can use him on all three levels, but that's just me. I prefer J-Mo.
Flannel?
Oh, this is really tough. Begrudgingly, I will say Jameson Williams, but he's got about this much more leash with me
Sam's holding on.
Before I switch my vote to George Pickens, especially if George Pickens becomes a top 15 receiver this year, and Jameson Williams takes a little while to get reacclimated into the NFL. I mean, Jameson Williams has, I think, more talent. He's got that stupid speed, but George Pickens can be elite.
Okay. Alrighty, fellas. Well, that'll be it. Let's get into some mailbag, and we'll be back tomorrow with What's Trending with Luke.
Let's do it. Before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA, because the Sports Marketing Agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, this is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com, and please get your questions ready. It's mailbag time.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Let me introduce you to our new friends at Mark White Real Estate and Associates. When buying or selling real estate, like Aiden Hutchinson taking residence in the Chicago Bears backfield, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no penalty? That's exactly what Mark White and Associates offers. It's called the minute-by-minute listing agreement.
Minute by minute?
By Mark White and Associates. Try Mark White's risk-free minute-to-minute listing agreement today. Looking to buy or sell real estate? Visit markwhitesells.com or call 248-290-8242. Again, markwhitesells.com, where flexibility meets success.
Ooh.
Dude just read the hell out of that, man.
Broder.
He just read the hell.
Got to be elite at everything.
Yeah, that's a.
Oh.
Broder, if this is training camp, I'm buying Broder stock.
Oh, yeah.
Get my reps.
He's winning some one-on-ones. He's making some George Pickens catches. You know, he's doing everything out there. Shout out to Broder. Let's get to mailbag. Let's get to some of these questions. To start us off, Mike asks, mailbag, can Lucas cover Broder one-on-one? Broder's got...
You trying to take a trip to Klotz Island, bro? Is that what you're trying to do?
Klotz Island becomes the lonely island
Oh,
real fast.
Hey, Dat Boy Roy asked mailbag JP, who's going to win, Roman or Jay? Is that how you pronounce his name, Jay?
Yeah, Jay Uso.
Okay.
I'm
a
your
casual.
tribal chief will remain the champion. The tribal chief will remain the champion. Roman Reigns wins SummerSlam this Saturday. But I do expect The Rock to be back, though.
I like it. Okay, here's another question. Motown Sports 89, mailbag. Who has a better season, T. Lawrence or Jay Love? Wow.
Stop
Who
it.
has a better season, Jordan Love or Trevor Lawrence?
Stop it.
Lucas, answer it for all of us.
Trevor Lawrence, without
Thank
a
you.
doubt.
Bro, does it just seem to me that there is a little bit of a minority of people who disrespect Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, there
And,
is.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
It's just the people that troll. Just let them be. They don't know ball.
All right. I mean, Lucas knows ball.
Let them be. They don't know ball. Apparently, Lucas is the only one on the show that knows ball.
Just ask Coach Walk.
That's
Ask
what I
Coach
was
Walk.
told, even though there's...
my boy. Shout out Coach Walk.
Sam Laporte, calling Sam Laporte a Hall of Famer before he touches an NFL field, you know ball.
I know. I know a gold jacket when I see one.
Oh my gosh! Can't wait to hear that take in 15 years when it's confirmed.
It's they're gonna like have Sam Laporta's retirement like video, and it's gonna be me leading it off. Be like 15 years ago, he knew.
Yeah.
I know this the emotional music, the black and white filter on top of me.
What if I told you?
What if I told you?
I predicted.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's a good
we'll see.
impression.
That'll be one of the all-time takes we can revisit, no doubt about it. Let's get to some other one of these questions. Norman. Norman's asking, I always ask questions and watch every day, so please answer. Why don't we ever talk about Adam? Well, I'll say this. Adam is no longer part of the show. I think you should understand that by now, but Adam's fine. He's doing all right. He's taking time away. He's with his family. He's no longer with Woodward Sports, but he still is a big supporter of the show, and he still is here every step of the way. So there's where Adam is. It's me and Sam moving forward, and that's how it's going to be. So if you don't like it, you can leave. If you do like it, great.
The boys are here.
We're going to have a lot of fun.
Disrespect to Adam. We're carrying on what Adam built.
Yeah, and again, I love Adam to death, so it has nothing to do with Adam. I still talk to him every day. Sam does too. We love Adam so much, but we have a job to do, and we're going to do it at a high level. It is what it is. Let's get to some more of these. Jesse, mailbag, Jeff Lucas. What's more insane, Sam Flannel saying Notre Dame beating OSU when Notre Dame lost their OC, or Michigan fans saying, like Lexi, sending herself death threats with their own burners?
Definitely the latter.
Man. Oh, man. That's a rough one.
Definitely the latter, I will say, because I'm not going to say too much on it, but that was pretty dumb. I'll just say that. That was all-time dumb.
That was tough. That's a tough
embarrassing.
one.
Embarrassing.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
It really is. Let's see here. Chuck, mailbag. Jeff, one thing about Adam, can we get an update on the baby? Yes, I don't know. I don't want to share too much.
That sucker's cute.
He is a cute
ass baby.
His son is born. It's amazing, man. I talk to Adam. I always get his opinion. He's in the fatherhood now, and he's going to be a great father. Yeah. So, again, he's with us in spirit. We're going to hold it down for him come football season. I can't wait. This crew, man, we're going to be fired up come football season. We're going to have some entertaining shows post-game.
Let him see it, Flannel.
Oh, I can't wait.
Fired up.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, we got Sam, JB, Broder, Lucas. We're going to have a lot of fun after the games and before the games previewing them. So I just can't wait. It's like, it's going to be great, but we have to get there.
Yeah.
And it's the patience. It really is.
You got to see it to believe it. It's going to be a lot like the Lions this year. You got your question marks about what to expect, but once you see the product, you'll be happy with it.
And people say, in Hockey Lord, are we going to have hookah when they win? No, that's Adam's thing. But trust me, we're going to have something. I don't want to spoil it.
We'll be turning up. Don't worry. We'll be turning up on Victory Mondays and Victory Friday week 1. We'll get it covered.
Lucas might have the Hennessy in the booth. Like, I don't know what's going on.
What we'll do is after... Follow me on Twitter. I'll put it up one of the days. And you guys tell me what you want to see on Victory Mondays. Outside of pills, we're gay.
Outside of pills.
Please, if you suggest pills, that's just...
Hey, yeah. No pills, no cocaine, no meth or anything. No, we're good with all that. No pills.
Bust out the dab rig.
Yeah, Jake says bust out the dab rig. There won't be no dab rig. Dispo, if we do a show at Dispo, maybe we could do some collaborations there, but we shall see.
Tequila shots for sure, Todd.
Steven says chug beers like Stone Cold.
We'll go out so we can V-mix it outside or something. Like when they get a big win, we'll go out back and we'll get them cracking over the head. We'll do everything.
Ethan S says LSD for the boys on Monday. Dude, could you imagine Sam Flannel Sam tripping on LSD, breaking down J-Mo, just like freaking the hell out.
He's really good.
Oh man.
Hey, I never disrespected.
Maybe after a Michigan natty, but I'm not making that bet though. That's scary. I've never done it. That would be pretty scary.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of fun though. I cannot wait. Eric Burrow says Lucas from Toledo, pick a drug. Hey, that's shade.
It's like a buffet out there.
He threw some shade at you there, man. That's some shade. Hey, Toledo. Hey. It is what it is.
It's what it's for now.
Coach Walk 37 says, I own a bar and I'll supply you the tequila every Victory Monday.
Hey.
Coach Walk. Let's get a round of applause for
I told you that's my dog.
Coach Walk,
and
man.
Coach Walk knows ball.
Yeah, Coach Walk knows ball. We can confirm that. That's
Coach Walk.
certain.
Drop the bar name in the chat real quick.
We gotta go check. We gotta go take a visit to Coach Walk, man. We'll go say what's up. What were we gonna say, Sam?
Would I be allowed into that bar? Because apparently I'm the opposite end of the spectrum as Lucas. So I mean,
he like locks the door right when Flannel's starting to walk in. No.
No. You drink outside.
He gets the dog bowl that sits right outside the door, right outside the step.
It just says Sam on it. That's messed up, man. No, we're bringing you in, son.
Right.
We got you.
That's okay.
Well, I want to get to this question too. Just a real question before we end the show. And I believe it was the away fan that asked it. What season are you more excited for this upcoming? Is it the Pistons or the Red Wings? I believe, and I can't find the question, so I could be incorrect on that. So please don't kill me there. But what season are you more excited for, Pistons or Red Wings?
Ooh, I would probably have to say Red Wings, because with the Red Wings, I think they're farther along in their rebuild. I think for them, it's playoffs or bust.
Mm-hmm.
For the Pistons, I think it's more just show tangible improvement.
I agree with that. I would say the Red Wings, they have the bigger acquisition too. I think that's part of it. Alex DeBrincat, like there's excitement now, and I think the Rings are going to be a playoff team. So there's reason for it.
Coach Walk said, "Yes, Sam, you can have a Shirley Temple."
I love Shirley Temples. I love Shirley Temples. Like Sprite
not even the dirty Shirley.
Hey,
Shirley
Sprite
Temple.
with some grenadine, with a little cherry. I'll take it any day of the week.
No Shirley Temple slander here.
Yeah, Shirley Temple's on the bomb.
Here we go. Just Woke says Adam was the reason I watched. Everybody else corny as fuck. Well, there's the door. Just Woke. Get the hell out of here. Stay out. Listen, stay out of here, man. Like, and again, I say it all the time. We love this audience so much. But if you're gonna come in here and just strictly say, "Well, I don't like the show," then why the hell are you in here? It's 10 o'clock and you're still here, bud. Obviously, if it's 10 o'clock and you're still here, it's W for us. At the end of the day.
If you're familiar with the band Sleeping with Sirens, if you can't hang, then there's the door.
There's the door. But guess what? To all the people that have supported us from day one, man, we really do. We remember it, and we do appreciate it. I mean, there's a lot, and I've been saying this, and I haven't really spoke on it a lot, but you guys don't understand how much we appreciate the support. Like that, it allows us to come out here and do what we love, have great shows with the boys, have some fun, and bring just a joyful morning to you guys. So that's what we look for, bringing you the best possible show, prepping, and bringing you the best content. So that's what it's all about. Again, till tomorrow, we're going to have a packed show, some training camp stuff already coming out. So tomorrow, we're going to have to break down all that and much more. But until then, Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Matt Broder joining us. Appreciate you, Matt Broder. Lucas Klotz in the TD booth. Until tomorrow, we'll see you guys. Have a good one.